Starting off this countdown, we have her wickedness. Pun intended. So just recently, Ariana Grande let her followers know that she'll be starring in the upcoming Wicked movie with Tony-winning actor Cynthia Erivo, a role that Lea wanted to get. If you've seen Glee, then you know that Lea's character Rachel Berry even sang Defying Gravity from Wicked. In 2019, Lea said it would be incredible if she could be in Wicked. But that won't be happening, and people think it's because of Lea's own wicked behavior. She has been exposed by a number of her fellow acting colleagues. People have called her rude, terrifying, manipulative, and a nightmare, among other things. From 2006 to 2008, Lea starred in the Broadway musical Spring Awakening. Fellow cast member Marcus S. Daniels said that Michele was, and I quote, abusive, rude, condescending, and at many times downright cruel. He continued on calling her out, saying, there was no excuse for your behavior. You have so much talent, but there is so much hate within your heart. Everyone who has worked with you carries those memories with them. So it seems like Lea is literally Rachel in real life. Moving on to number 9, we have the living hell. Earlier this year, during the Black Lives Matter movement, Lea tweeted out in support. She tweeted, and I quote, George Floyd did not deserve this. This was not an isolated incident and it must end. And then she used the hashtag Black Lives Matter. Well, Samantha Ware, former Glee cast member, responded to that tweet and called Lea out. In all caps, she tweeted, LMAO, remember when you made my first television gig a living hell? Cause I'll never forget. I believe you told everyone that if you had the opportunity, you would in my wig, amongst other traumatic microaggressions that made me question a career in Hollywood. That is insane. Another time, Lea didn't like how Samantha was acting on set and threatened to have her fired. Needless to say, she makes sets a living hell. In our 8th spot, we have being unpleasant. Another Glee co-star, Heather Morris, ended up tweeting out in support of Samantha, coming forward calling out Lea Michele. She said, and I quote, was she unpleasant to work with? Very much so. For Lea to treat others with the disrespect that she did for as long as she did, I believe she should be called out. Then, former RuPaul's Drag Race contestant Willem also came forward. Willem made an appearance on the 4th season of Glee. They said, and I quote, Lea treated me so subhuman I left the set of Glee, past the popcorn. Nobody wants to work in a toxic environment. Good for them for leaving. Coming in our 7th spot, we have being disrespectful. Lea Michele can officially add being disrespectful to her list of talents on her acting resume. One of her former co-stars and understudy for Spring Awakening tweeted out saying, you were nothing but a nightmare to me and fellow understudy cast members. You made us feel like we didn't belong there. I tried for years to be nice to you to no avail. Maybe actually apologize instead of placing the blame on how others perceive you. You'll probably just delete this though. He's not the only understudy to come forward though. Elizabeth Aldrich was Lea's understudy in Ragtime in 1998, and she said, and I quote, she was absolutely awful to me and the ensemble. She demeaned the crew and threatened to have people fired if she was in any displeased. I used to cry every night from the mean and manipulative things she would do. She was 12. She was terrifying. Dude, she was only 12 and already had an attitude problem? And if sets condone this behavior, then she thinks that she can continue to get away with it, so she won't change her ways at all. In our 6th spot today, we have the dictator. Lea Michele believes the world revolves around her. I'm sure you can tell that by now. When on set, she thinks that she has the power to dictate what goes on. For example, if someone gets on her nerves, Lea will apparently try to get them fired. Well, another person that exposed Lea would be actor Davier Snell. He appeared on one episode of Glee in 2014. He tweeted saying, girl, you wouldn't let me sit at the table with the other cast members cause I didn't belong there. F you, Lea. Yikes. Okay, but Lea, that's not a very welcoming thing to do. She's literally just a big bully. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with the racism. A number of cast members of color have come forward saying they felt that Lea's hate towards them was racially motivated. Then 30 Rock actor Keith Powell came forward and said, and I quote, Lea Michele is a terrible human and has said terrible things to many different types of people, including racist microaggressions to/about black people, which is seemingly why Samantha was so ticked off about Lea's tweet about George Floyd. She's not practicing what she's been preaching. After word got out about Lea's behavior, HelloFresh dropped her from their partnership. They said that they do not condone racism nor discrimination of any kind, nor should anyone. In our 4th spot, we have the drama. On a number of sets, Lea has been known to try and start drama. On Glee, Lea tried to start drama with Naya Riviera. In an interview, she revealed, and I quote, "Lea and I were like two sides of the same battery. We are both strong-willed and competitive, not just with each other, but with everyone, and that's not a good mixture." As the show progressed, especially as Santana moved from a background character to one with bigger plot lines and more screen time, I think Lea, didn't like sharing the spotlight. It seemed like she blamed me for anything and everything that went wrong. If I'd complain about anyone or anything, she'd assume I was bitching about her. Soon, she started to ignore me, and eventually it got to the point where she didn't say a word to me for all of season 6. Wow, that's tough. In our third spot today, we have the attitude problem. Another one of Lea's former Glee colleagues, Chase Edmondson, outed Lea for a terrible interaction he had with her. So Chase worked in the production department for season 3 and 4 of Glee. According to him, he said, "My strongest memory of you was storming out of the Glee classroom set yelling, 'Does anyone have gum?' I was standing about 10 feet from you with gum already in hand. When I said, 'I do,' offering it to you, you just looked at me and said, 'Ew,' before walking off to Crafty on the next stage." I have no clue how she can just treat her colleagues with such disrespect. Come on now. In our second spot, we have the background actors. Seems like everyone that worked with Lea Michele has been victimized by her, including the background performers. Mia Edwards was a background actor for season 6 of Glee. According to her, Lea made them feel as if they were nothing, and often referred to the background actors as cockroaches. Like what? And if any background actors looked at Lea, she'd be like, "Ugh, don't look at me, don't make eye contact, ugh, you cockroaches." That's not all though. According to her, while prepping for a scene on set, Lea, and I quote, "walked by me and burped in my face. This loud burp. Directly, almost face to face. It wasn't even like, oh, she wouldn't have known. She knew she burped in my face." 2 other people saw it and an operator said, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry she did that." I was just like, yeah, whatever, you're on set trying to be professional, you're not trying to make a huge deal about things. After the second or third take, she walked by me and stepped on my foot really hard. You know when you bump into someone, you can feel it. Again, nothing, no reaction, like I wasn't even there. It made me feel like I was nothing. And in our number 1 spot today, we have the look-alike. So back in September of 2009, a number of actors were hired to work as look-alikes at a Glee premiere party. These look-alikes had to resemble the show's characters and they would perform at the party. So this one girl was hired as the Rachel Berry look-alike. And listen what she had to say. She said, and I quote, "I didn't know my character was the lead, let alone who played her. When the actors arrived at the event and found out there were look-alikes of them, Lea came searching for me. When she saw me, she said, 'Oh my god, could they have picked someone uglier?' Corey Monteith saw the look on my face and said, 'Don't listen to her, she's just jealous, you're beautiful.' I never forgot."
First up, we got Samantha Ware. Samantha Ware started the entire downfall of Lea Michele back in 2020 after she called out Michele for the way that she acted on the set of Glee. Ware appeared on season 6 of Glee and she didn't get along well with Lea. When Lea Michele posted tweets in support of George Floyd after his passing, Ware decided to call out Michele on the hypocrisy. She commented, quote, "Remember when you made my first television gig a living hell?" adding that Michele was microaggressive towards her and even threatened to defecate in her wig, if you can believe that. Ware's experience with Michele was so bad that it made her question a career in the industry. Michele later apologized for her behavior, but Ware did not accept and told Lea to open her purse if she really wanted to help. Next up, Amber Riley. Amber Riley is another Glee cast member that had terrible things to say about Lea. Riley was a cast member for all 6 seasons of Glee, so she definitely knew the true Lea. After Samantha Ware's comments, Riley weighed in by posting some gifs of her sipping tea, clearly commenting on what was going on. Riley weighed in further during an interview on Real Quick with Danielle Young. She explained that she did not believe that Lea was racist, but she just believed that she was a stuck-up brat who was power tripping on everyone. However, Riley did say that just because Lea might not be a racist doesn't mean that race doesn't play a factor in these bad interactions. Adding, quote, "In my inbox there are a lot of black actors and actresses telling me their stories and letting me know that they have dealt with the same things on set, being terrorized by the white girls that are leads of the show." So clearly it's something that really needs to be discussed in the industry. Next up, Heather Morris. Glee's Heather Morris did not hold back when sharing her disdain of Lea. After Lea's behavior became a topic of conversation, Morris was shy at first, but later became very vocal against the star. Morris tweeted out that she didn't want to send more hate to Lea at the time, but she confirmed that Lea was very unpleasant to work with and was very disrespectful to everyone on set. And Morris believed that Lea needed to be called out for her behavior. When speaking about race, Morris said that she could not comment on if she thought Lea was racist, but that was the assumption at the time. Morris later revealed that while filming Glee, everyone was way too scared to speak up to the Fox executives. However, she's glad it's a different time and there's more of a demand for respect on set, saying, quote, "We absolutely could have stepped up and gone to the Fox execs and said how we really felt about the situation, and no one really did. Now we're living in a culture where it's acceptable to do things like that, whereas I think many people were very scared." Next up, Yvette Nicole Brown. Yvette Nicole Brown and Lea Michele starred in a short-lived show on ABC called The Mayor. And even though Brown is never involved in Hollywood drama, she spoke up about her time with Michele after Samantha Ware publicly tweeted out against her. Brown responded to Ware's initial tweet, writing, quote, "I felt every one of those capital letters. Every person on a set matters. Every person on a set deserves respect. And it's the responsibility of every series regular to make every person who visits their home feel welcome. This dismissive attitude is what's wrong in Hollywood and the world." And although Brown never mentioned Lea by name here, many assume that Michele exhibited the same behavior on the set of that show, and that's what caused her to speak out. Brown also spoke about her time on the hit show Community, saying the experience was not as toxic, with Brown saying that someone defecating in her wig was something that never would have been said on the Community set. And thank God for that. Gerard Canonico. Gerard Canonico worked alongside Michele when they were an understudy in the play Spring Awakening. Canonico actually commented on Lea Michele's Instagram apology after she started receiving tons of backlash. However, his comment was suspiciously deleted. Wonder what happened. So he commented again, writing, quote, "My first comment seems to have been deleted, so I'll try again. You were nothing but a nightmare to me and fellow understudy cast members. You made us feel like we didn't belong there. I tried for years to be nice to you to no avail. Maybe actually apologize instead of placing the blame on how others, quote, perceive you. You'll probably just delete this though." This comment clearly taking a shot at the part in Michele's apology where she said that people perceived their negative experiences with her. Next up, Abigail Breslin. Abigail Breslin and Lea Michele worked alongside each other in the show Scream Queens. If you haven't seen it, it's actually one of my favorite shows. Breslin is probably the most high-profile actor to speak out against Michele. However, since Breslin did not want to get caught up in drama, she decided to like some negative tweets about Michele instead, basically in order to get her point across but not actually speak out directly. Breslin liked a tweet that said, quote, "Not everyone agreeing that something felt off about Lea Michele. Where have y'all been? I've been saying this for years. I thought I was alone." So clearly Breslin agreed with the sentiment that something felt off about Lea, and people tried to speak up about it for years. Next up, Naya Rivera. Naya Rivera was the only person that had the guts to share their feelings about Lea Michele before she was exposed by Samantha Ware. The two worked alongside each other for all seasons of Glee, so Rivera got an inside look into Michele's true character. The two actually got into a big fight on set in 2014, and Rivera exposed it in her memoir that was published in 2016. Rivera says the two started off as friends, but over time they started to hate each other. Rivera believed this was partially because her character of Santana moved from a background character to a main one over time, and Michele didn't like sharing the spotlight. A few years later, it seemed that the two had partially made up, and on a 2019 episode of Watch What Happens Live, Rivera said that her and Michele had no bad blood, and she even liked Michele's Instagram engagement post. However, it's wild to hear that she had such a bad experience with Michele, especially being a woman of color. And lastly, Elizabeth Aldrich. Broadway actress Elizabeth Aldrich was Lea Michele's understudy in the Broadway show Ragtime. This was early in both their careers, and even as a child, apparently Michele was a nightmare to work with. Aldrich shared a statement on Twitter along with a picture of both of them as children. Aldrich said in part that Michele was awful to work with, adding, quote, "She demeaned the crew and threatened to have people fired if she was in any way displeased. I used to cry every night from the mean and manipulative things she would do. She was 12. She was terrifying." Aldrich went on to say that she's no longer in the acting world, but she wanted to share her story of working with Michele to validate other people's stories about her. Aldrich also added that she hopes that becoming a mother changes Lea's behavior.
In at number 10, post-Oscars flop. When Jennifer Lawrence was the highest paid actress in the world, she was the face of huge films like The Hunger Games and Silver Linings Playbook. But after she won an Oscar for her role in Silver Linings Playbook, her career has flatlined. Pretty much every movie that she's done since then has not taken off, and none of the films to have gotten her much critical acclaim or commercial success. She even did a space movie called Passengers with Chris Pratt, and you'd think a movie with such huge stars would be a success, but again, it flopped and was widely disliked. After this, studios weren't willing to take the risk of having Jennifer be their leading lady anymore. And at number 9, she overshares. Jennifer shares relatable anecdotes all the time to appear relatable to her fans, but sometimes she overshares and it backfires. One of her worst scandals happened when she admitted that she disrespected the Hawaiian culture while filming The Hunger Games. Basically, Jen was filming in Hawaii, and in the movie she wears wetsuits a lot, which can get pretty itchy. So in 2016 on The Graham Norton Show, she admitted that she had scratched her butt on some sacred ceremonial rocks while filming in Hawaii. She said, quote, "There were sacred rocks, I don't know, they were ancestors, who knows? They were sacred, and you're not supposed to sit on them because you're not supposed to expose your genitalia to them. I, however, was in a wetsuit for this whole shoot. Oh my god, they were so good for butt itching." Apparently, she even moved the rocks so much that one came loose and started a landslide. The Hawaiian people thought it was a sign of a curse, but it was just Jen being disrespectful. After the backlash, she posted an apology to Facebook, but many did not buy it. And at number 8, Mother. The film Mother was supposed to be an artsy film to get Jen's career back on track, but it did the opposite. After having box office failures with huge movies, she decided to go back to her indie roots and work alongside her boyfriend at the time. The movie is a disturbing avant-garde horror film that gave her the space to be a dramatic actor, but after its release it was widely hated by audiences and critics alike. The whole plot of the movie was criticized, as well as Jennifer's performance. At the end of the day, it didn't get her career back on track, and it kinda confirmed that she was on the decline. And at number 7, public persona. After Jennifer became incredibly famous for her acting, her loud and goofy personality seemed to captivate the world, and it started to make her less believable as an actress. She was given the persona of a cool girl who would say whatever was on her mind, get drunk, and make risque jokes. And even though many loved it at first, the public started to get annoyed with it pretty fast. And pretty much anything she does now to seem quirky and relatable is criticized in the media, claiming she's just trying too hard. Even her infamous fall at the Oscars is deemed to be fake, and people think she concocted the whole thing for attention. All this isn't good if you're trying to act in serious roles, and most well-respected actors do their best to have as little media presence as possible. And at number 6, taking a break. Jennifer has not started a movie since 2018 and has taken a step back from the industry. She revealed why on the Absolutely Not podcast in October of 2020, saying, quote, "I realized that I needed to take some time." She explained, "I mean, we all felt that like everybody needed a break and the public needed a break from me. I needed a break." She revealed that she got wrapped up in the Hollywood machine when she took consecutive projects after she got her big break, adding, quote, "I realized that once you go into this machine, it just doesn't stop," adding that it feels like you need to take every opportunity presented to you until you're totally wrapped up in it. Finishing off that her career was taking on a life of its own, and she needed time to go off to make some changes. But in Hollywood, out of sight is out of mind, and she's in jeopardy of being forgotten about. Halfway at number 5, Hollywood enemies. Since Jennifer is so vocal and constantly covered in the media, she's gotten into some feuds over the years. One was with Anderson Cooper, who made some shady comments about her Oscars fall. When Jen was accepting her Oscar in 2013 for Best Actress, she fell while walking up to the stage. After the shocking fall, many weren't sure if it was real or just faked for attention. One of those people was CNN host Anderson Cooper. On a podcast, Lawrence spoke of how she saw Cooper talking about it a few days later, and she was hurt by his remarks that the fall could have been fake, saying, quote, "It was so devastating because it was this horrific humiliation to me that took away. I don't know if I'll ever have the chance to make a speech like that again. It didn't feel good for me not to have a speech." Apparently, Lawrence later confronted Cooper at a Christmas party, with a source saying she was really fired up while confronting him, but apparently they're all good now, and Anderson sincerely apologized for his statements. And at number 4, insensitive comments. Jennifer is known for her unfiltered comments, but in this day and age that can get you in a lot of trouble, and she's constantly called out for her insensitive comments. The worst were her comments on Lindsay Lohan. While Jennifer Lawrence was on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert to promote a movie in 2015, Lawrence offended Lindsay Lohan and her family. It started when Lawrence was talking about how she got a stomach virus while filming, but she still kept shooting. Then she made the comment, quote, "I get like Lindsay Lohan grade exhaustion, but without any drugs or alcohol." And obviously, even though she was just joking, those kind of words will start a fight. Almost right after the show aired, Lohan's younger sister Elena tweeted out, quote, "I never breathe life into negativity, but I stand by my family. Disappointed in Jennifer Lawrence, not cool." Lindsay Lohan then replied to that tweet saying, quote, "Thank you, sister. Maybe who you're referring to should learn to support others like Maya Angelou." So it's clear Lindsay and Jen are not on good terms. And at number 3, crass. Along with being generally insensitive, Jennifer can also also be very crass. Jen stirred up a lot of drama with reality star LaLa Kent during her appearance on Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen. It started when Andy was asking Jennifer what she thought of the cast of Vanderpump Rules. When the conversation went to LaLa, Lawrence straight up called her the C word, the see you next Tuesday word, along with tons of other digs at her. As a response, LaLa tweeted out, quote, "Did Jennifer Lawrence really just call me the C word on Watch What Happens Live and talk about my mama? You better pray I don't see you in the streets." This was just the first of a long string of now deleted tweets. The shade did not stop there though. LaLa then went on the Juicy Scoop podcast and called out Jennifer further. She said that Jennifer had 2 failed films in a row and said she was the type of girl who would sleep with Harvey Weinstein for a role. Lawrence never responded to the shade, but LaLa still brings it up anytime she's asked about it. And at number 2, rude to fans. I'm sure it's annoying and even somewhat scary to get approached by fans when out in public, but most celebrities recognize that fans should be appreciated, but not Jennifer. She's actually admitted to being rude to fans when they come up to her, so they'll leave her alone. Jennifer says it's her way to defend herself against fans and paparazzi who might want too much from her. In an interview with Variety, she said, quote, "I just generally, once I enter a public place, I become incredibly rude. That's kind of like my only way of defending myself." Even adding that if she sees a fan coming to her table, she'll start wagging her finger and making a mean face. She also bluntly responds no when people ask her for selfies. And over time, fans aren't happy about this harsh attitude and will probably turn on her. And finally, number 1, unprofessional. Even though it looks easy, being an actress is a lot of work. Specifically learning lines and figuring out what you want to do with the lines before you even show up to film. But even though Jen is an Academy Award winner, she does not memorize her lines before showing up to set. Jen was speaking about this in an interview, saying, quote, "My friend was over and she was like, 'What scene are you doing tomorrow?' And I was like, I don't know, is that bad? Is there a point in my career where I should start learning my lines for work?" And she was like, "Well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it." When asked another time about the fact that she doesn't memorize lines, she said, quote, "I look over the script, but I don't sit there memorizing. I read it, I know where I'm going, I know what it's about." Even adding, quote, "I do as little work as possible, definitely." Clearly this strategy has worked for her, but I can't imagine the other actors and the director don't appreciate that she's not following the script like they are. And at number 10, Lindsay Lohan. While Jennifer Lawrence was on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert to promote a movie in 2015, Lawrence offended Lindsay Lohan and her family. It started when Lawrence was talking about how she got a stomach virus while filming, but she still kept shooting. Then she made the comment, quote, "I get like Lindsay Lohan grade exhaustion, but without any drugs or alcohol." And obviously, even though we assumed she was joking, those kind of words will start a fight. Almost right after the show aired, Lohan's younger sister, Elena, tweeted out, quote, "I never breathe life into negativity, but I stand by my family. Disappointed in Jennifer Lawrence. Not cool." Lindsay Lohan then replied to that tweet, saying, quote, "Thank you, sister. Maybe who you're referring to should learn to support others like Maya Angelou." Lohan's mom also commented on the incident weeks later, so it's safe to say the family does not have a good opinion of Jennifer Lawrence. And at number 9, Jared Leto. Jared Leto thinks that Jennifer Lawrence's niceness is all an act. The rift between them started at the 2014 Oscars, when Jennifer was walking up to the stage after she won an award. Leto and some other people started laughing. Then Lawrence started asking, what is it? What's funny? Apparently what was happening is that the host of the show, Ellen DeGeneres, was miming Don't Fall, because this was the year after Jennifer's famous fall, and Leto and his family were laughing. Then Leto was asked about her earlier, more famous fall, and he said, quote, "I'm starting to wonder if this is a bit of an act." He said it in a joking manner, but we know there's always a hint of truth in jokes like that. And at number 8, Chloe Sevigny. Chloe Sevigny has been open about her dislike of Jennifer Lawrence. When Sevigny was being interviewed by V Magazine in 2015, she was asked if she has any fears of being typecast. She replies that she does, and ranted about how the industry is all about marketing over talent, saying, quote, "So much is about marketing and selling the product. They'll have a really peppy, funny girl on the talk show rounds, and everybody adores her and loves her and wants to be her or sleep with her. And then so many more people want to watch the movie or TV show." And even though she seems to hint at Lawrence, she didn't name her specifically. However, later when she was asked about women that she admired, Sevigny said Angelina Jolie and Emma Stone, but she said she could do without Jennifer Lawrence, adding, quote, "Jennifer Lawrence I find annoying, too crass." And at number 7, Kim Kardashian. After Jennifer Lawrence interviewed Kim on the Jimmy Kimmel Show, I thought they were the best of friends, with them talking about how Jennifer came over for dinner and got her mother Kris absolutely wasted. But it seems that Kris has been giving Jennifer a little too much attention, and Kim has started to get jealous.
A source told Radar Online in December 2017 that Kim had enough of Jennifer. Kim reportedly went into a quote jealous rage over the close relationship her mom had developed with Lawrence because quote Kim was always Chris's favorite until Jennifer crashed the scene. The source added quote Jennifer's definitely on the VIP invite list for her annual holiday party, so Kim's dreading Jennifer stealing the show. The sunshine walks with Jennifer in Chris's eyes. Kim is fed up and doesn't know what to do. And honestly, I'm not sure how much I believe this source because I don't think that Chris and Jennifer spend enough time together for anyone in the family to actually get jealous, but it's definitely an interesting rumor. And at number 6, LaLa Kent. Jennifer Lawrence stirred up a ton of drama with reality star LaLa Kent during her appearance on Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen. It started when Andy was asking Jennifer what she thought of the cast of Vanderpump Rules. When the conversation went to LaLa, Lawrence straight up called her the C word, the see you next Tuesday word, along with tons of other digs at her. As a response, LaLa later tweeted out, quote, did Jennifer Lawrence really call me the C word on Watch What Happens Live and talk about my mama? Bitch, you better pray I don't see you in the streets. And that was just the first of a long string of now deleted tweets. The shade did not stop there. LaLa went on the Juicy Scoop podcast via 2Fab and called out Jennifer further. She said that Jennifer had, quote, 2 failed films in a row and said she was the type of girl that would sleep with Harvey Weinstein for a role. Lawrence never responded to any of the shade, but LaLa still brings it up anytime she's asked about Jennifer Lawrence. Halfway at number 5, Anderson Cooper. So I'm pretty sure we all know about Jennifer's legendary fall at the 2013 Oscars while she was accepting the prestigious award for Best Actress. And after the shocking fall, many weren't sure if it was real or just faked for attention. One of those people was CNN host Anderson Cooper. On a podcast, Lawrence spoke of how she saw Cooper talking about it a few days later, and she was hurt by his remarks that the fall could have been fake. Quote, it was so devastating because this was a horrific humiliation to me that took away, I don't know if I'll be able to have the chance to make a speech like that again. That didn't feel good for me not to have a speech. Apparently, Lawrence later confronted the host at a Christmas party, with a source saying that she was really fired up while confronting Anderson Cooper. But apparently they're all good and Anderson sincerely apologized for his statement. And at number 4, Juan Pablo Fernandez Feo. Jennifer Lawrence got massive backlash after she was rude to a reporter at the 2016 Golden Globes. After she accepted an award, she was in the press room answering questions. Then a Spanish reporter who was speaking with an accent started asking a question, but he was looking at his phone basically the whole time. Jennifer tried to joke around by telling the reporter to put his phone down if he wanted to ask her questions. She also mocked him after he mistook the event for the Oscars. After the event, hate flooded to Jennifer, and people figured the reporter was most likely translating from Spanish to English in order to ask her questions. It was wrong for Jennifer to assume that everyone there spoke English. Anne Hathaway ended up defending her and saying the reporter was actually recording Jennifer, so she had to right to call him out for it. But I mean, it definitely didn't make Jennifer Lawrence look good. And at number 3, Joan Rivers. The drama between these two happened in 2013, when Lawrence was being interviewed by Yahoo CEO Marissa Mayer. In one part of the interview, a fan asked Jennifer a question about body positivity. She answered by saying that she doesn't listen to criticism about her weight, then threw some shade, saying, quote, shows like Fashion Police and things like that are just showing these generations of young people to judge people based off things that they put values in all the things that are wrong, that it's okay to point at people and call them ugly or fat. As a response to Jennifer's shade, Joan Rivers tweeted out, quote, it's funny how Jennifer Lawrence loved the show during awards season when we were complimenting her every single week, with Joan adding that she tripped over her own arrogance at the Oscars. And at number 2, Jennifer Lawrence herself. Many people didn't like the side of Jennifer Lawrence that they saw after she clapped back at fans who were trying to defend her. Controversy in question was because she wore a stunning Versace gown on a London rooftop, while her male co-stars wore coats and pants because of the chilly weather. Many found it sexist that Jennifer was wearing an exposed dress in the cold while the men were dressed for the weather. And even though Jennifer is usually very quiet on social media, she wrote a long statement against those who started the controversy. She said in part, quote, the controversy is not only utterly ridiculous, I'm extremely offended. That Versace dress was fabulous. You think I'm gonna cover that gorgeous dress up with a coat and scarf? I was outside for 5 minutes. I would have stood in the snow for that dress because I love fashion, and that was my choice. She then continued to rant about how this activism is not feminism and people need to get a grip. And although she's allowed to share her opinions, many felt she was too hard on people who were just trying to support her. And finally, number 1, Jennifer Lopez. This last one comes from another very famous Jennifer, Jennifer Lopez. The feud started when Lawrence was on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, and Lawrence shared a story from the Met Ball. Apparently, Jennifer Lawrence and Jimmy were very drunk and wanted to ask J-Lo to dance. Apparently, they went over to her and she turned them down, with Lopez saying that she just wanted to observe. And even though the story was lighthearted, it still made J-Lo look kinda bad for saying no. So J-Lo decided to set the record straight, and she actually came out with her version of events, She told Access Hollywood, quote, "I remember that we were at the Met Ball and Kanye was about to perform and it was like a crazy moment. And then they came over. And then she was like, let's go dance. And I was like, no, I'm good right here. But I didn't mean it like I don't want to dance with you. I just meant it like it's so crowded in here, let's stay right here." With her saying she would have loved to dance with Jennifer Lawrence. And I think this one can probably just be chalked up to miscommunication, honestly. So that's all for the list, guys. Let me know your thoughts below and let me know, do you like Jennifer Lawrence or do you think her persona is all an act? From what I see online, it seems like most people think her self-deprecating humor and quirky personality is all a persona to be more likable, and lately it seems not to be working. But I would love to hear your thoughts below. In at number 10, culturally insensitive. Jennifer got into a massive scandal after she admitted to being insensitive to the Hawaiian culture. Basically, Jen was filming the Hunger Games in Hawaii, and in the movie she wears wetsuits a lot, which can get pretty itchy. So in 2016 on the Graham Norton show, she admitted that she'd scratched her butt on some sacred ceremonial rocks while filming in Hawaii. She said, quote, "There were sacred rocks. I don't know, they were ancestors, who knows? They were sacred, and you're not supposed to sit on them because you're not supposed to expose your genitalia to them. I, however, was in a wetsuit for this whole shoot. Oh my god, they were so good for butt itching." Apparently, she moved the rock so much at one point one came loose and started a landslide. The Hawaiian people thought it was a sign of a curse, but it was just Jen being disrespectful. She tried to be funny and relatable while telling the story and didn't think she would get in any trouble, but people were angry at how nonchalantly she admitted to disrespecting Hawaii. After the backlash, she posted an apology to Facebook, but many didn't buy it. And at number 9, weight insensitivity. One thing many fans know about Jen is that she speaks off the cuff and rarely filters out what she says, which can cause a lot of funny moments as well as a lot of insensitive ones. One thing she gets steady backlash about is her comments about her own weight. Jen has been open about the toxicity of weight in Hollywood and says that she was often asked to lose weight before movies. Because of this, she's been quoted saying, quote, "In Hollywood, I'm obese. I'm considered a fat actress. I'm Val Kilmer in that one picture on the beach." Another quote said, quote, "I eat like a caveman. I'll be the only actress that doesn't have anorexia rumors." Many people take these comments to be body positive, and although we love that she won't lose weight for movies, she's also already pretty slender, so giving the middle finger to the man here is a lot easier for her. And when someone the size of Jen calls herself fat, that makes anyone larger than her feel even more insecure about their own weight. Like if Jen calls herself overweight, literally what am I? I know it's all jokes, but the self-deprecation can seem pretty insincere at times. And at number 8, biphobic comments. Another thing that's gotten Jen heat in the press has been some biphobic comments that she made about one of the characters she played. She played X-Men character Mystique in the movie franchise, and was shocked to learn that the character was actually bisexual. When speaking about the character's sexuality, she said, quote, "She has kids, she has night crawlers, and she sleeps with Magneto. Unless I'm completely wrong, I mean, she's 100 years old, she definitely had time for a lesbian phase." And obviously that phrase is gonna anger a lot of people in the community who've been working hard to break those stigmas, especially because bisexuality is not a phase. Jen also called her own style at one point, quote, "slutty power lesbian," because she had a pixie haircut, which is just wrong on so many levels. And at number 7, trash reporter. Jennifer Lawrence got massive backlash after she was rude to a reporter at the 2016 Golden Globes. After she accepted the award, she was in the press room answering questions from tons of reporters. At one point, a Spanish reporter who was speaking with an accent started asking a question, but he was looking at his phone the whole time. Jennifer tried to joke around by telling the reporter to put down his phone if he wanted to ask her questions. She also mocked him after he mistook the event for the Oscars. However, it was pretty obvious that he was just reading his questions off his phone, which is pretty common for reporters these days. After her rude comments, hate flooded in against the star. People also gave the perspective that the reporter may have been translating his questions into English, that's why he was staring at his phone. It also just rubbed people the wrong way that she assumed that everyone speaks English. And at number 6, paparazzi. Like many other celebrities in Hollywood, Jennifer Lawrence hates paparazzi. But really, I mean, who can blame her? And she makes a point to bring up her disdain for paparazzi whenever possible. Like in one interview with Vogue, where she said, quote, "If I were just your average 23-year-old girl and I called the police to say that there were strange men sleeping on my lawn and following me to Starbucks, they would leap into action. But because I'm a famous person, well, sorry ma'am, there's nothing we can do. It makes no sense." Jen has also talked about how she doesn't like fame and how fan interactions make her really uncomfortable. So that's obviously a big part of the reason that she maintains such a low profile most of the time. Halfway at number 5, Lindsay Lohan. Jennifer Lawrence has poked fun at many fellow celebrities over the years, but none was worse than when she made some nasty comments about Lindsay Lohan. Well, While Jennifer Lawrence was on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert in 2015, Lawrence offended Lindsay Lohan and her family. It started when Lawrence was talking about how she got a stomach virus while filming, but she still kept shooting. Then she made the comment, quote, "I get like Lindsay Lohan grade exhaustion, but without any drugs or alcohol." And obviously those kinds of words will start a fight with anybody. Almost right after the show aired, Lohan's younger sister, Aliana, tweeted out, quote, "I never breathe life into negativity, but I stand by my family. Disappointed in Jennifer Lawrence, not cool." Lindsay Lohan then replied to the tweet saying, quote, "Thank you, sister. Maybe who you're referring to should learn to support others like Maya Angelou." Lohan's mom also commented on the incident weeks later, so it's safe to say Lohan's family and fans hate Jennifer Lawrence. And at number 4, LaLa Kent. This is another example of Jen talking trash about a fellow celebrity and then getting called out. While Jen was on an episode of Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen, she decided to take aim at Vanderpump Rules star LaLa Kent. It started when Andy was asking Jennifer what she thought of the cast of Vanderpump Rules. When the conversation went to LaLa, Lawrence straight up called her the C word, along with tons of other digs at her. As a response, LaLa tweeted out, quote, "Did Jennifer Lawrence really call me the C word on Watch What Happens Live and talk about my mama? B, you better pray I don't see you in the streets." And that was just the first of a long string of now deleted tweets. The shade didn't stop there. LaLa went on the Juicy Scoop podcast and called out Jennifer further. She said that Lawrence had, quote, 2 failed films in a row, and said that she was the type of girl that would sleep with Harvey Weinstein for a role. Lawrence never responded to any of the shade, probably because she knew she was in the wrong. And at number 3, Jennifer Lopez. I wouldn't classify this one as rude as much as just proving that Jennifer Lawrence can be very over dramatic. The feud started when Lawrence was on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, and Lawrence shared a story from the Met Ball. Apparently Jennifer Lawrence and Jimmy Kimmel were very drunk and wanted to ask J-Lo to dance. Apparently they went over to her and she turned them down, with Lopez saying she just wanted to observe. And even though the story was lighthearted, it still made J-Lo look kinda bad for saying no. So J-Lo decided to set the record straight, and she actually came up with her version of events. She told Access Hollywood, quote, "I remember that we were at the Met Ball and Kanye was about to perform, and it was like a crazy moment. And then they came over and they were like, let's go dance, and I was like, no, I'm good right here. But I didn't mean it like I don't want to dance with you, I just meant it like it's so crowded in here, let's just stay right here." So she basically called out J-Lo on TV for no reason. And at number 2, rude to fans. Probably one of the most bizarre things about Jennifer Lawrence is that she's admitted that she hates speaking to fans. It's so bad that she's decided to be really rude to fans so they leave her alone. Interesting strategy. When speaking with Adam Sandler, she told him, quote, "Generally once I enter a public place, I become incredibly rude. I turn into a huge a-hole." She then continued that it's her way of defending herself, and that she acts like this to make sure nobody crosses any boundaries. And just to contrast how terrible Jen sounded here, Adam Sandler said he makes a point to be really nice to his fans, saying, quote, "My life's nearing the end. I want to meet as many people as I can." And finally, number 1, hurricane. Jennifer Lawrence has become increasingly more political over the years, and she was frequently critical of Donald Trump during his presidency. However, she got some heat after she made some comments about hurricanes. From the quotes that were taken, it seemed like Jennifer Lawrence was blaming the influx of hurricanes on Trump's win, saying that Mother Nature was raging. She was harshly criticized for the comments, so she posted a statement about the incident on her Facebook page. She wrote in part, quote, "My remarks were taken grossly out of context. Obviously, I never claimed that President Trump was responsible for these tragic hurricanes. That is a silly and preposterous headline that is unfortunate, because it detracts from the millions of lives that are being impacted by these devastating storms and the recent earthquakes."
Kicking off this list at number 10 is Miley Cyrus. If you followed her past relationship with Liam Hemsworth at all, then you probably remember the alleged love triangle between Miley, Liam, and Jennifer. That's not a triangle, that's a diamond. Rumors spread like wildfire when the Hunger Games first came out, with people suggesting that Jen and Liam had something between them off the big screen. For years, no one really knew if it was true or not, but then Jen confirmed it for fans in December of 2015. She went on Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen and admitted to making out with Liam off set. Andy asked her if they have ever kissed when the cameras weren't rolling, and Jennifer's response was, "Liam and I grew up together. Liam's real hot. What would you have done?" "Yeah, I have." Reports say this is actually why Miley and Liam got back together after their first initial split, because Miley got jealous and thought she might lose him to Jen. Now, how much of this is true, we won't really know, but Jen confirmed that she and Liam had a little something something, and that is something I've always wondered personally. So, glad it was confirmed. Up next, number 9 is Jared Leto. She had some sort of weird tension with the actor back in 2014, and it all came out at the Oscar Awards. She took the stage to present the award for Best Actor and called out someone in the audience by asking, "What? Is this funny?" Turns out the mystery audience member was Jared Leto. He explained what happened later on and said that Ellen DeGeneres was on the sidelines making jokes that had him, his mom, and his brother all cracking up and laughing. When asked about if he felt bad interrupting Jennifer unintentionally, he made sarcastic comments like, "I guess we don't have any manners." To top it all off, he was then asked about Jen's famous fall when she tumbled up the stage to accept her award at the Oscars, and Jared responded by saying, "You know, I'm starting to wonder if this is a bit of an act." We're not sure what the tension is between them, but there is a lot of sarcasm between the two of them. They both just seem like very sarcastic people though, in general. Cruising into number 8 is Joan Rivers. Back in November 2013, Jen did an interview with the Yahoo CEO Marissa Mayer and was asked about body positivity. One man asked her a question on behalf of his daughter and said, "Having experienced body image criticism in Hollywood, what is your advice to young girls dealing with the same treatment from their peers and your response to those who judge others based on appearances?" Jen responded by saying, "Screw those people," and went on to call out Joan Rivers' show Fashion Police. She called out the show and said that shows like that are showing younger generations of young people to judge other people based on things like their appearance, and that it is wrong. Joan wasn't too impressed with her comment, and she took her thoughts to Twitter. Some of her tweets said, "It's funny how Jennifer Lawrence loved the show during awards season when we were complimenting her every single week. She actually even went on to make a joke about Jen's famous Oscar fall and said that she tripped over her own arrogance." Shots fired. Although I don't fully agree with that show either. You're literally judging someone on their appearance. That's the entire show. Making his way into number 7 is Spencer Pratt. Seems like a really random feud since they come from two totally different worlds, one being a Hollywood actor and another coming from MTV reality shows. But in 2017, she landed the cover of Vogue, and during her interview, she said that her house was flooded with crystals. She said when she first moved in, there were crystals everywhere, and she asked to get rid of them ASAP because she hates them. She said, "Please get rid of these. I don't want people to come over here and think I'm a crazy crystal person." This is where Spencer Pratt came in. He is one of those crazy crystal people, as she called them. After the Vogue interview was out, he went on the defensive and announced that he felt personally attacked by her comments. He did an interview with The Morning Breath and said, "She was talking about me in Vogue, like 100% I'm the crazy crystal person she's clowning, so I'll see her. We'll bump into each other at the Beverly Hills Hotel like I see all the A-listers and they run from me." Honestly, I don't think she was talking about you. I don't think she cares. Really? Like in the Vogue interview, I don't think she's thinking of Spencer Pratt. No offense. In spot number 6 is Chloe Sevigny. Now I know I probably said that wrong, so just forgive me and move on from it, okay? The actress didn't hold back when sharing her thoughts on Jennifer Lawrence and was honest about it during an interview in 2015. She sat down with V Magazine and asked if she ever worries about being typecast. After admitting that she does, she explained herself and said, "They'll have a really peppy funny girl on the talk show rounds and everybody adores her and loves her and wants to be her, and then so many more people want to watch the movie or TV show." She then went on to name a couple of A-listers who she admires and one that she could do without. That one? It's Jennifer Lawrence. Her exact words were, "Jennifer Lawrence I find annoying, too crass." We're not sure why she targeted Jen in the interview. No reports surfaced about them having any kind of tension towards one another, so it still remains a mystery. The amount of times I've been called annoying in my life, I just take it as a compliment at this point. Halfway through at number 5 is Donald Trump Jr. Does he even count as a celebrity? Probably not, I don't know, but this is still a fun story that I wanted to include. I'm sure being the son of the former president who caused a ton of controversy would often have you in the middle of feuds for anyone who didn't like your dad. Jennifer told Oprah that she would want to meet Donald Trump and said, "I've got a pretty good speech," and it ends with a martini to the face. "I have something to say for all of them. I watch different characters on the news and I'm like, you just wait." Not too long after that, Donald Trump Jr. had something to say to her. He went on Twitter and shared a link to the article with the headline, "Jennifer Lawrence, if I meet Trump, it'll end with a martini to the face," and he fired back and said, "I'm pretty sure that's not how it would end." Jen really didn't seem too bothered by his tweet, and she didn't bother tweeting back, which is probably for the best. Taking over spot number 4 is Kim Kardashian. This one seemed like a lot of miscommunication or an issue that was never an issue, but the media made it look like one. I'm still not really sure. Jen has made it clear for a long time now that she's obsessed with the Kardashians, and she even started having a friendship with Kris Jenner. According to
to a source who spoke to Radar Online, Kim started to have enough of Jen's attention. Reports claim that Kim went into a jealous rage over the close relationship that was developing between her mom and Jen. The source said, I quote, "Kim was always Chris's favorite until Jennifer crashed the scene. She was waltzing into the family's world, acting like a superstar and upsetting the order with her loud chaos. Chris says she's a hoot and treats her like the blonde daughter she never had. The sunshine walks with Jennifer in Chris's eyes, and Kim is fed up and doesn't know what to do." No one is sure if any of this is true because things seemed to be okay between them when Jennifer interviewed Kim on Jimmy Kimmel Live when she took over his show. It seemed very normal to me, but that could always just be an act. I'm really not sure. Sniping number 3 spot is LaLa Kent. It's no secret that Jen speaks her mind and doesn't normally beat around the bush. But people were surprised to see some of the comments she made on Watch What Happens Live regarding LaLa Kent. During the interview, she called her a C-word, because I cannot say that word. But apparently it was in a joking manner. Whether it was a joke or not, Kent didn't take too kindly to it and went on Twitter to talk about it. She sent out a bunch of tweets that have since been deleted. A month after, she went on a podcast to talk about it, and she made comments saying Jen's last 2 films were fails, and said she's the type of chick who would give Harvey Weinstein favors for roles. Honestly, that was just the tip of the iceberg of the comments she made. She went in very hard on the actress, even picking apart her appearance. However, Jen still stands by the fact that she was joking in her initial interview. I mean, I don't get the joke. When I'm joking, I don't use that word, but okay. Next up at number 2, we have J-Lo. This feud was never really a feud, but people didn't know that right away until J-Lo cleared it up once the media had turned it into something. During a visit to The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon back in 2014, Jennifer Lawrence treated the audience to a party story that included Jimmy and J-Lo. She revealed that she was drunk and she and Jimmy both saw J-Lo and they said they wanted to ask her to dance, so they made a plan that they would do a spin and say, "Dance with us." Turns out Jimmy chickened out, so Jen was left to do it on her own, but she got the cold shoulder from J-Lo. She did the spin, asked her to dance, and J-Lo replied with, "No, I think I'm gonna observe." Obviously, Jen was devastated, as I would be, so the media ran with that story. But J-Lo cleared things up with Access Hollywood and said that she told Jen, "I'm good right here," only because it was really crowded at the moment, so she just literally wanted to stay right there in that area. She cleared it up though by saying that she would have loved to dance with Jen, so kind of a big misunderstanding. In the number 1 spot is Lindsay Lohan. In December 2015, while promoting Joy on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, Jen stirred up some controversy with a dig at Lindsay. Colbert praised her for being a star who's willing to talk about the things that aren't so glamorous and asked her about getting sick while shooting Joy in Boston. Jen candidly talked about how she got a stomach virus and was puking a lot. During her story time, she said, "I just keep going until eventually my body is just like, if we don't make her barf or pass out, she won't stop. I get like Lindsay Lohan grade exhaustion, but without any drugs or alcohol." Immediately afterwards, Lindsay's sister Aliana jumped to her defense on Twitter and wrote, "I never breathe life into negativity, but I stand by my family. Disappointed in Jennifer Lawrence? Not cool." Lindsay ended up chiming in saying, "Thank you, sister. Maybe who you're referring to should learn to support others." Lindsay's mom then later told Entertainment Tonight that they have all been a fan of Jennifer's and her movies, and that it was very disappointing to see her trash talk Lindsay like that. I mean, I agree. Not a cool comment.
At number 10, toxic workplace. Allegations of a toxic work environment was the scandal that really started it all. There had been some buzz surrounding how Ellen treats others, whether that be guests on her show or employees, but things really started to pick up when real people started coming forward about how they were being treated while working at the Ellen show. A number of former employees came forward to expose Ellen for being a horrible boss. Some people brought up how she would use racial microaggressions and how she would pick on each one of her employees. Actor Benjamin Simon came forward with 6 stories about Ellen that showed the world just how mean she really is and how disrespectful she is to her staff. Benjamin tweeted out about how Ellen reportedly has a quote, sensitive nose and requires everyone to chew gum before talking to her, and will also order people to go home and shower if she doesn't like the way you smell. He also added that Ellen would make a point of picking on a different employee every day, and that when she's in a bad mood, she gets staff members to come to her office and forces them to do comedy bits for her to cheer her up by laughing at them. Benjamin also said that if Ellen doesn't like the monologue that someone wrote for her that day, she will throw it on the floor, refusing to do it. These and countless other stories revealed to the public just how toxic things are over at the Ellen show, and this first scandal marked the beginning of the comedian's downfall. At number 9, quarantine comments. In April last year, when everyone was stuck inside during the world's first COVID lockdown, a lot of people started working from home, including Ellen DeGeneres. The Ellen Show was being broadcast from her home, and on April 6th, during her opening monologue, Ellen made some comments about her quarantine experience that rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. During the episode, Ellen compared her experience of staying in her home to being in jail, saying, quote, "One thing I've learned from being in quarantine is that this is like being in jail. It is what it is. It's mostly because I've been wearing the same clothes for 10 days and everyone here is gay." These comments were not taken very well by the public, and the comedian faced a lot of backlash for comparing her experience of quarantining in her California mansion to living in incarceration, where COVID infections are already incredibly high. Her comments were seen as offensive to those currently living in incarceration because their lives are more greatly at risk because of the infection rates, and a lot of people interpreted her monologue as making fun of those who aren't as privileged to be living in a mansion like she is. At number 8, Hollywood mean streak. After Ellen was exposed for her toxic workplace environment, people started coming forward with their horror stories of the comedian. At first, former employees were jumping on the Ellen is over party trend, but soon some celebrities started commenting on their experiences with Ellen, and a lot of them reminded the public that Ellen's bad attitude isn't anything new. For years, celebrities have known about Ellen's Hollywood mean streak, and some of them have come forward to expose her. Fellow comedian Kathy Griffin has been very outspoken about Ellen's mean streak and even wrote about it in her book, Kathy Griffin's Celebrity Run-Ins, My A to Z Index. In her book, she dished about some awful run-ins that she's had with Ellen, detailing some of the mean things she's done to her. In the book, she wrote, quote, "I can't prove it, but this person who has short blonde hair has a mean streak that all of Hollywood knows about." But it's not just Kathy who says Ellen's mean streak has been common knowledge, as comedian Brad Garrett also chimed in to speak his truth about who Ellen really is behind the scenes. After Ellen issued an apology to her staff members, which we will talk about later, some people weren't buying into this declaration, including Brad Garrett. In response to Ellen's apology, he tweeted saying, quote, "Sorry, but it comes from the top, at the Ellen Show. No more than one were treated horribly by her. Common knowledge." Maybe he was speaking from experience having worked in the same industry as her, or because he had been a guest on her show a few times in the mid-2000s. The fact that he and Kathy, as well as a few other celebrities, called Ellen's mean streak common knowledge really helped prove that it's not just her employees who've had bad experiences with her. At number 7, lockdown layoffs. During the first lockdown the world experienced last spring, there were a lot of changes in many workplaces. Some people were transitioning to working from home, and many others sadly lost their jobs. This was a very uncertain time for a lot of people, including many Ellen Show employees, because of a huge lack in communication. Shortly after the show made their transition from the studio to home, news came out reporting about how Ellen Show employees had been replaced by non-union workers in order to cut down on the cost of paying their other employees. As a result, a lot of employees were left in the dark and without pay for a few weeks, which just angered more people and made Ellen look worse. At this point, she was not only experiencing backlash for being a bully towards her employees, but also for causing layoffs as well as pay deductions. At number 6, racial injustice tweet. At the height of the Black Lives Matter movement in 2020, many celebrities were coming forward to talk about the racial injustices many Black people around the world have been facing. Some of them tweeted about it, others went to protest, but overall, most of them tried to do their part by spreading awareness. Ellen tried to do this, but it didn't go over very well, as many people thought she missed the mark with her BLM tweet. In her later deleted tweet about racial injustice, Ellen said, quote, "Like so many of you, I am angry, I am sad. People of color in this country have faced injustice for far too long. For things to change, we must change. We must commit ourselves to this change with conviction and love." A lot of people didn't like how she used the term people of color instead of just saying Black people, as the movement was surrounding the racism that Black people have endured and continue to endure. After deleting the post, Ellen corrected herself by issuing another tweet showing her support for the Black Lives Matter protests and also pledging to donate to a handful of charities and organizations. At number 5, privilege. While people were still discussing how Ellen was really behind the scenes, the theme of privilege came up and a lot of people called her out for it. After her tone-deaf joke about comparing life in quarantine to life in incarceration, people kept looking for more examples of how she lives such a privileged life. And one person came forward with an example that shocked a lot of people. Back in May last year, a former Ellen Show producer spoke out about how Ellen once called Steve Jobs personally to complain about the font size on the iPhone. This came after Ellen lost her glasses and was having trouble reading the text on her phone. The former producer recalled the incident saying, quote, "She stopped everything and made a call. Next thing we know, we literally hear Steve Jobs pick up and say, 'Hi, Ellen.'" Ellen told him the iPhone should have bigger font. He continues saying, quote, "That's her. It's not that she's some demon. She just lives in an incredibly privileged bubble and is out of touch with the real world." At number 4, apology fail. Following all the backlash that she'd been receiving, when The Ellen Show made its return after a quarantine hiatus, Ellen had to make amends for her actions and had to address some of the allegations against her, like misconduct and workplace toxicity. During her opening monologue, the comedian issued an apology for the things that she'd been accused of, but it didn't really go over well with her audience. During her apology, Ellen admitted that she was, quote, "a work in progress," and that she wasn't aware of the negativity in her workplace. Ellen also joked that she isn't a good enough actress to, quote, "come out here every day for 17 years and fool you." People didn't like how she mostly deflected and made jokes about the situation she was caught in, rather than owning up to her actions, which really just made her look worse in the public's eye and added to her growing criticism. At number 3, Nikkis Tutorial's interview. One of the instances that was sort of the fuel for this Ellen is Over party fire was YouTuber Nikkis Tutorial's testimony about how she was treated after she was invited on the show in January last year. During an interview in March of last year, Nikki spoke out about the atmosphere at The Ellen Show, saying, quote, "The friendly, welcoming atmosphere you see when watching Ellen isn't the reality in the studio." Nikki said that she was expecting a warm welcome when arriving at the studio, but that she was instead, quote, "greeted by an angry intern who was a bit overworked." Nikki also told sources that she didn't receive the same VIP treatment as everyone else, saying that she couldn't even use the bathroom closest to her because it was reserved for the Jonas Brothers, who were also on the show that day. She also commented on Ellen's personality, saying that she was very cold and distant when the cameras were off, making for a very different vibe on the show. This was a very different response than people were expecting, so this became big news, which later escalated into a much bigger scandal. At number 2, Dakota Johnson interview. The other incident many people think of as the beginning of the Ellen is Over party comes from actress Dakota Johnson's 2019 interview with the comedian. During the interview, Ellen berated Dakota about the fact that she wasn't invited to Dakota's birthday party, and many people saw this whole debate as incredibly unnecessary and uncalled for. Dakota stood her ground during the interview, shutting Ellen down and not being made to look like the bad guy like Ellen intended, but this also showed how Ellen can sometimes go too far. Fans didn't like the way that the actress was treated during her time on the show, and after Ellen was cancelled, some saw this as justice for Dakota because Ellen was no longer able to get away with behaving like this. And finally, at number 1, Twitter. At the height of Ellen's cancellation, podcaster Kevin T. Porter sent out a tweet asking for people to share their horror stories about the comedian, and he said that he would make a $2 donation to a food bank for every insane story he received. Because of this tweet, a lot of people came forward talking about their bad experiences with Ellen, and this really added most of the heat to Ellen's growing fire. It wasn't just former employees and celebrities who came forward either. Fans and other people who have encountered Ellen off camera were also coming forward to recount some of their horrible experiences with her. Because of the amount of people who tweeted in response to this prompt, it caused this scandal to grow bigger and bigger, painting Ellen to look more and more like a villain, as news sources started picking up on the biggest and most outrageous stories to report on. Kevin's tweet received 2,800 replies, along with over 17,000 retweets and over 70,000 likes. This tweet blew up and made the scandal erupt to become even bigger than anyone thought it would, and caused immeasurable damage to Ellen's career. If it wasn't for this massive attention this tweet got, Ellen's career might not have been as damaged as it is now.
Ellen has been facing a lot of heat recently, with people coming forward with stories saying that she isn't as kind as she appears to be. Kicking off our countdown at number 10 is Mariah Carey. The two ladies have had a friendship for many years, but there was a moment in their friendship where Ellen's humor proved to go too far. The big debate with comedians is, are their jokes funny or are they actually mean? Mariah believes that this one was a bit mean, but she did handle it well despite the fact. What happened was, she went on Ellen's show to do an interview, and Ellen brought up the rumors that were going around at the time that Mariah might be pregnant. Right away, Mariah says, "Let's not talk about that." But then Ellen takes out 2 glasses of champagne and tries to force her to drink it to prove that she's not pregnant. Mariah is hesitant, and it might be because she was in her early stages of pregnancy at the time, and oftentimes females don't want to reveal it because in the first trimester, miscarriages are common. Sadly, Mariah did have a miscarriage and revealed the news later down the road. I personally watched this video and I did not find it funny. I feel like forcing someone to drink alcohol to prove if they're pregnant or not, like, I get the joke, but probably not a good one, Ellen. Up next, number 9 is Dakota Johnson. Back in 2019, the actress sparked a fire on the internet after she went on the Ellen show for an interview. The two of them have had this ongoing debate on whether or not Ellen has been invited to Dakota's birthday parties. In 2018, Dakota admits that she didn't invite Ellen because she didn't know that she would want to be invited. So she invited Ellen in 2019, but Ellen didn't show up and gave no explanation. But when Dakota went on her show, Ellen called her out and said that she didn't invite her to her birthday party again. The tension was super awkward to watch, I'm not gonna lie. And Dakota says, actually, no, that's not the truth, Ellen. Ask everybody. Ask Jonathan, your producer. Ellen's producer live ends up confirming that she was invited and didn't go. You can tell that Dakota was not taking Ellen's this time and was making sure that everyone knew that she was invited. Not sure why Ellen was trying to make it look like she wasn't, but the whole thing was super, super awkward. Like, I wish they could have just removed that whole part from the interview. Swiping the number 8 spot is Mark Ruffalo. You're probably wondering what the hell kind of beef he has with Ellen. It all just seems very random, not gonna lie, and it kind of is. Remember when the world went to a frenzy because Ellen was sitting with George Bush at a Dallas Cowboys game? She received a ton of hate for it, but did a monologue on her show where she said that they are friends despite their different beliefs. Like she always does, she spoke about kindness and said that she chooses to be kind to everyone. But Mark didn't agree with that and let his feelings out in a tweet. He wrote, "Sorry, until George W. Bush is brought to justice for the crimes of the Iraq War, including American-led torture, Iraqi deaths and displacement, and the deep scars, emotional and otherwise, inflicted on our military that served his folly, we can't even begin to talk about kindness." Clearly, he does not agree with Ellen's decision on who she chooses to have in her friend circle. Rolling into number 7 is Kelly Ripa. She was one half of the morning show's favorite couples. Her and Michael Strahm were co-hosting Live with Kelly and Michael from 2012 to 2016. But then Michael suddenly announced that he was leaving the show to join ABC's Good Morning America, and his relationship with Kelly began to crumble. Most hosts decided to remain neutral on the conflict, but Ellen invited him on her show, which hurt Kelly's feelings. Source said that Kelly was livid and said, I quote, "Cozying up with Michael was like telling the world she had taken his side and she was taunting Kelly." People had different opinions on the situation though. Some believe that Ellen's decision wasn't intentional, while others thought that she knew what kind of outcome would come from it. Moving on to number 6 is Kathy Griffin. Alright, so they've had drama for a while now apparently. It's been an ongoing feud and it all comes down to whose side of the story you will believe. In 2016, she published a tell-all book called Kathy Griffin Celebrity Run-Ins, My A to Z Index. In the book, she dished out dirt on about more than 100 celebrities, and Ellen was one of them. She wrote, "I'm almost positive a certain beloved daytime talk show host once had me kicked out of a backstage dressing room at the Emmy Awards. I can't prove it, but this person, who has short blonde hair, has a mean streak that all of Hollywood knows about." But Ellen denies the story and says that Kathy is the mean one. Rumors were claiming that Ellen banned her from her show, but Ellen spoke about it during the interview and said, "I didn't ban her from the show, because first you have to be on the show to be banned." Shots fired. Ellen is sassy. Halfway into our list, number 5 is Caitlyn Jenner. Back in 2015, Caitlyn went on Ellen's show and made a shocking confession, or so it seemed. During her interview, Ellen asked her what her stance was on same-sex marriage, and she said that there was a time that she did not support it. Ellen fired back at her immediately and made it seem like she wasn't supportive of the LGBTQ community. And then, after the interview, Ellen took shots at Caitlyn while talking on the Howard Stern show. She said she was unfairly passing judgment about gay people and marriage. But it turns out that that wasn't the case, and Caitlyn was not happy that she was trying to paint her in that light. Caitlyn opened up about the full story and said that she had actually talked to Ellen on the phone prior to taping the interview and convinced her to discuss her shifting stance on marriage equality. But then Ellen kind of flipped the switch on her during the interview and made it sound like she was against it. That all does seem pretty sketchy. And at number 4 is Joan Rivers. The icon has passed away, and is not able to speak on her side of the story anymore, but Kathy Griffin chose to tell it, which is also one of the reasons that her and Ellen still aren't very friendly with each other. Kathy opened up to Variety and said, "One of the things that really hurt Joan, and we talked about it at our last meal together, was that Ellen always shunned her and Ellen thought she was vulgar and not funny." Apparently, despite all of their drama, Kathy still reached out to Ellen to check if she was going to do a tribute for Joan after she died in 2014, but claims said that Ellen did not want to. Kathy finished her story by saying that she wished Ellen would have celebrated her more because she has such an incredible platform, and Joan was the one who broke the glass ceiling for women talk show hosts. So she should have gave like a really nice tribute to her, is what most people believe. Coming into number 3 is Nikki Tutorials. The YouTuber went on Ellen's show for an interview earlier this year and was quick to go on the internet and start sharing how bad her experience was. Like Ellen, Nikki is also a big influence in the LGBTQ community after coming out as transgender on her channel. Before her interview, she gushed online about how excited she was to go on the show because she was a big fan of hers. But after the airing, she said that Ellen didn't even say hi to her before going on stage, and said that the whole experience just felt very cold and distant. She also admitted that she didn't even have a place to go to the bathroom, claiming that the closest bathroom to her was reserved for the Jonas Brothers and that she was not allowed to use it. I feel like that's kind of illegal. Where was she going to the bathroom then? Swiping the number 2 spot is Susan Sarandon. She too did not agree with Ellen's speech about being friends with George W. Bush. When Ellen spoke about the controversy on her show, she said, "I have friends who don't think the same things that I do. When I say be kind to one another, I don't mean only the people who think the same way you do. I mean be kind to everyone." Susan tweeted a response and posted a quote from Out magazine saying, "But missing the point entirely, DeGeneres framed the issues as simply a matter of her hanging out with someone with different opinions, not a man repeatedly accused of being a war criminal." Clearly, I just think that everyone's gonna have their own opinion on that situation. If Ellen can pick and choose if she's friends with George Bush or if she's not. Yeah, I feel like that everyone's gonna have a different opinion on that. And I'm gonna keep mine to myself. In the number 1 spot is Kevin T. Porter. You know things are bad when a comedian offers donations online in exchange for stories about Ellen being one of the meanest people alive. His words, not mine. That is right. Kevin tweeted out that he would donate to Los Angeles Regional Food Bank if people would share a story when Ellen was mean to them. He quickly got over 2,000 replies with people sharing stories of her being rude. He was wanting to show everyone that Ellen is not what she appears to be and thought if people could see all of these stories at once, it would help shed some light on that. He was exchanging $2 for every story, but then it got hard to tell which stories were real or not, so he just donated $600 and then attached the screenshot of his receipt. So he actually did donate the money. However, I feel like you are going above and beyond to try and expose someone for being mean. And isn't that kind of mean? Ellen DeGeneres has always preached about kindness and is known for being a loved comedian in Hollywood. But more recently, things started to surface, and apparently there is a darker side to the Ellen DeGeneres show, and I'm gonna dish out some of that tea in today's list. Kicking off our list at number 10 is how she treats her staff. She's always had a reputation for producing a show that is filled with laughter, positive vibes, and kindness. But it turns out that this might not be the whole truth, and a source came forward saying that she treats her staff like they are her peasants. They came forward and said, when the cameras aren't rolling, she treats staffers as if they are her peasants. She doesn't even brief the staff about the show anymore. They also alleged only a few lucky people are actually allowed to talk to Ellen when working on set or even looking her in the eye. This mystery source was very passionate about their bad experience and went as far as saying that Ellen plays favorites just to create tension and jealousy. Apparently, Ellen selects which staff to invite to fun events and then leaves the other ones in the dust. Up next, number 9 is Caitlyn Jenner felt burned by Ellen. Back in 2015, Caitlyn made a shocking confession while doing an interview on her show, saying that there was a time she didn't support same-sex marriage. She was asked about her stance on it, and she said, "At first, I was not for it." Ellen was offended and took shots at Caitlyn while talking on the Howard Stern show. She said she was unfairly passing judgment about gay people and marriage. Maybe she didn't want to dance with me on the show because I'm lesbian. But Caitlyn was quick to set the story straight and didn't like Ellen's untrue response. She expressed that she talked to Ellen on the phone prior to the interview taping and convinced her to discuss her shifting stance on marriage equality. But then Ellen kind of flipped the switch on her during the interview and made it sound like she was against same-sex marriage. But apparently she's not. And apparently Ellen never even asked her to dance, and she said she would have loved to dance with Ellen. Who doesn't want to dance with Ellen? Making our way to number 8 is the time that she defended Kevin Hart over a homophobic tweet. She angered a lot of her fans back in 2019 after she interviewed the comedian when he stepped down from being the Oscar host that year. If you missed all of that drama, he was asked to host the Oscar until homophobic tweets from his past resurfaced, and the only way that they would let him host is if he apologized for it. He ended up stepping down from the host position and refused to apologize because he already apologized for them in the past. One of the tweets from 2011 was a joke about what he would do if he caught his son playing with a dollhouse. He tweeted, "I'd beak it over his head and say, 'Stop, that's gay.'" But he refused to apologize, and Ellen actually brought him on her show and supported his decision to step down. She called the people attacking him about his tweets haters and actually encouraged him to not let it destroy him. It comes across very hypocritical, especially after the whole Caitlyn Jenner story I just told you. Like, you were mad at her for not agreeing with same-sex marriage, but this guy straight up posted a homophobic tweet and you're in support. I get that it's not coming across in the right way. Sliding into the number 7 spot is she did not support a writer's strike. Back in 2007, there was a writer's strike and Ellen carried on with the show anyways. She respected the picket lines for one day, but then returned to the studio the following day. She claims that she didn't have to actually follow the legal actions required, and when she filmed the next day, she said, "I love my writers, and in honor of them, I'm not gonna do a monologue." She felt that it was enough to give up the monologue part of her show, but the truth is, she was not supposed to create new episodes at all. The union condemned the decision to move forward and wrote in a statement that Ellen was not welcome in New York, where the show was scheduled to film in a few weeks' time. The Writers Guild of America wrote, "It's sad that Ellen couldn't even stand by writers for more than one day. Writers who have helped make her extremely successful. I'll love your show, but you can't just make a show when there's a writer's strike." Coming to the number 6 spot is she was sued for making fun of a woman's name. It was a very weird lawsuit back in 2016 when a Georgia-based real estate agent named T.T. Pierce sued Ellen for making a joke about her name. It happened during her "What's Wrong with These Ads and Signs" segment when she joked and called her Titty instead of TT. In the lawsuit, Pierce pointed out that Ellen knew her name was pronounced TT and that she faced harassment following the episode. The case was ultimately thrown out, and the judge said that the letter I in the English language can be pronounced several ways. This one will kind of depend on whose side of the story you believe. Ellen's producers did say they never intended to hurt anyone's feelings, but many people believe that Ellen knew that she was just making fun of her on purpose, obviously for the joke of the segment. Halfway through, we have the time she made Corinne Olympius uncomfortable. She was another celebrity who guest appeared on Ellen's show and went on to say that the experience wasn't so nice. She talked about it while speaking on The Morning Breath in 2017 when she was asked if the rumors were true about Ellen being a diva behind the scenes. She admitted that the show isn't what it seems to be and that there's truth that people don't get to see from Ellen. She kept things pretty vague, but said that she felt uncomfortable when talking to her. She said that before the taping, she was super excited because she was a big fan of her, obviously, and said it felt like she'd be talking to Dory from Finding Nemo, like the lovable goofy blue fish played by Ellen. But the experience was different for her, and she said, "I've kept this in for so long, but to be honest, Ellen just made me a little uncomfortable." And for obvious reasons, Ellen denied these claims. Well, to be honest, she just didn't really comment on it altogether. Kind of like an eye roll thing to this whole story. We're at number 4 now, and we have the inappropriate comment about Katy Perry's breasts. Ellen swears that her heart and mind were in the right place when she tweeted out a birthday message for Katy saying, "Happy birthday, Katy, it's time to bring out the big balloons." But it was followed by an image of Ellen with her wife staring at Katy's breasts. The picture was obviously a joke. Both Katy and Ellen's wife are both laughing in it, but fans were not impressed and they actually started a trending hashtag double standard. People weren't impressed, even fellow celebrities joined in on the hashtag. Piers Morgan tweeted, "If a man made this joke, Ellen would lead the cries of sexist pig." People actually claimed that her tweet contradicted her Me Too monologue where she criticized sexual harassment and said it is not a male or female thing. Of course, Ellen is a comedian and said that the tweet was just meant as a joke. Taking over the third spot is when she made Kathy Griffin cry. I feel like that is not an easy thing to accomplish. In 2016, she published a tell-all book called Kathy Griffin Celebrity Run-Ins, My A to Z Index. In the book, she dished some dirt about more than 100 celebrities, and Ellen was one of them. She wrote, "I'm almost positive a certain beloved daytime talk show host once had me kicked out of a backstage dressing room at the Emmy Awards. I can't prove it, but this person, who has short blonde hair, has a mean streak that all of Hollywood knows about." But Ellen said that it's not true, so you kind of have to judge if she is lying or not. Ellen said her piece on the situation and called Kathy very mean. She said, "She did a whole thing that I banned her from the show. I didn't ban her from the show because first, you have to be on the show to be banned." I'm interested to know, who do you believe? Do you believe Kathy Griffin? Do you believe Ellen? I want to know. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Taking over the number 2 spot is her charity led to an IRS nightmare. One thing she's known for on her show is all the generous gifts and donations that she gives to people in need. In 2013, she helped a woman named Shonda Fields after she lost her job as a substitute teacher. She gave her whole family approximately $55,000 to help everyone, and of course, they were overjoyed. But later on, tax collectors in Ohio threatened her with jail time for failing to pay $1,700 in taxes for the non-employee compensation awarded to her by The Ellen Show. She ended up having to pay a fine, and fans were actually shocked to hear about it. For some reason, people started coming at Ellen and her team, saying that it's not fair to award people large sums of money that they're gonna have to pay taxes on. Some people said that she lies about the fine print when she gives away all of these prizes on her show, and that they really aren't what they seem to be. I actually have a small fun fact for you. My friend got on The Ellen Show as a nurse, as a guest, and she got to play one of those games and actually won a prize. And she did get her 2 TVs and her check for $20,000. So all I gotta say is, it might be true. There might be some truth to these prizes. In the number 1 spot is Nikki Tutorials. The YouTuber recently went on Ellen's show for an interview and later spoke about her bad experience. Similar to Ellen, Nikki is a big influence in the LGBTQ community after coming out as transgender. And before her interview, she gushed online about how excited she was, only to admit that the experience wasn't what she thought it would be. She said that Ellen didn't even say hi to her before going on stage, and said the experience was just cold and distant. She also admitted that she didn't even have a place to go to the bathroom. Is that even legal? Nikki explained and said, "Every guest at Ellen had a private toilet, but I didn't. I couldn't even use the closest toilet to me because it was reserved for the Jonas Brothers. They were allowed, but I wasn't. Even looking back though, my interview got 8 million views and theirs only got 2 million. Ha! Of course, Ellen is saying that these claims are not true. I don't know if she's lying. I don't know who to believe. Kicking off the countdown list, at number 10 is she gave away a fan's gift. One former Ellen fan tweeted out a story with photographic evidence that proved Ellen gave away her hard work. A girl named Danielle Acevedo tweeted out saying, "When I was 15 at the Ellen Show, was doing a contest of fans making a bust of her and sending it to her. I worked so hard on this and even wrote her a letter. Weeks later, she used it as a prop in a game and gave it away to a random person with $500 attached to the bottom. In her tweet, she attached photos of her creating the art piece and then the screenshots from the episode where it was a prop in the game with 5 $100 bills taped to the bottom. Yikes. I mean, as a fan, that would be devastating because you obviously made it as a gift to Ellen, not to be given away to some of her other fans. Like, that was for Ellen. Coming into the number 9 spot is the time she almost got a waitress fired. A woman named Chris Farah shared her bad Ellen experience on Twitter and told the story when Ellen complained about her and almost had her fired. She said in her tweet that when she was working at a restaurant, she served Ellen and her wife Portia, and despite everything seeming okay, Ellen filed a complaint afterwards. Her tweet said, "I worked at Real Food Daily, served her and Portia at brunch. She wrote a letter to the owner and complained about my chipped nail polish. Not that it was on her plate, but just that it was on my hand. I had worked until closing the night before, and this was the next morning. It almost got me fired. Chris explained that she was a huge fan of Ellen, and when her manager pulled her into the office and asked if she served her, she thought maybe she was going to be getting on the show because she had told Ellen that she was an aspiring artist and comedian. But then, yeah, that wasn't the case at all. Oh, that would hurt. Swiping the number 8 spot is she told a celebrity not to talk to guests. A man named Josh Levesky told a story about his friend who used to work as a PA on her show. Apparently the PA was chatting with the guest star of the day, Russell Brand, and it caused some tension. The tweet said, another friend of mine was a PA on her show, and when Russell Brand came into the employee break area to chat with the crew and hang out, Ellen came in and got mad at him, saying he didn't have to interact with those people. And that is why guests have their own area backstage. Clearly, Russell knows that he doesn't have to talk to anyone. If this story is true, I just don't understand why she would care. Ellen has always been very open and she always interacts with her guests and her audience. She dances with them. So why would she care? In spot number 7 is she left a pregnant woman with no benefits. A woman came forward and told a personal story about one of her close friends who worked for Ellen for over 5 years. She goes by the Twitter name Cassandra Tells You So and tweeted out the story saying, after working for Ellen for over 5 years, close friend left to have a baby and found a different job on a union network with benefits, etc. Ellen begged her to return to work and then fired her after 1 week, no reason given, and my friend struggled for a long time with a new baby and no benefits. I'm left a little speechless after this one. I'm sure there is more to the story than just those few sentences, obviously. It sounds like there were a lot of factors involved, and I'm kind of hoping that this one isn't true, because obviously that's awful. Moving on, at number 6, we have the time she wanted specific food. It's no secret that Ellen is vegan and does a lot when it comes to fighting for animal rights. But one person said she went just a little too far when it came to wanting a specific vegan food item. A woman online came forward and said, I was PAing for the Letterman special and her rider was 50 items long, and one was a specific vegan cauliflower puff that are rarely sold. So I had to drive to 15 different grocery stores to find it, and then she didn't even touch it. Yeah, that'd be annoying. I understand that you need a vegan menu if that's what your diet consists of because of allergies or your beliefs, but that specific of an item I get would be totally frustrating for a PA because I've been on movie sets before and stuff, so that's really annoying. I get it. We're halfway through and we have how she treats her staff. A writer who used to work for her named Benjamin Simon said that she didn't treat her staff very well and took a few examples to Twitter. One of his tweets said, a new staff member was told every day she picks someone different to really hate. It's not your fault, just suck it up for the day and she'll be mean to someone else the next day. They didn't believe it, but it ended up being entirely true. He followed that tweet with another ridiculous claim saying that when she's in a bad mood, upper management will highly encourage them to go into her office and do a little comedy bit to help cheer her up. I mean, sometimes a laugh is what we need when we're having a bad day, but I did find a lot of stories online claiming that she doesn't treat her staff properly. So rolling into number 4 is the time she got exposed by a hairdresser. A lot of these stories come from people who worked for her or through their friends who said that they had a bad experience with her. But a girl named Anastasia told the story that a hair salon in LA deemed Ellen as one of the rudest celebrities that goes in there. She tweeted out, I lived in LA, got my hair done at Michi where there were a lot of celebrities. I always asked employees who was the meanest, who was the nicest. Nice were Julia Roberts, Cameron Diaz, Rita Wilson. Mean were Ellen, overwhelming number, and Charlize Theron, saw firsthand. So this is coming from different hairdressers who have celebrities going in and out of there all the time. So this one's kind of interesting because it's like a totally outside perspective. We're coming to the 3rd spot and we have, she asked a PA to give back their Christmas gifts. Come on, I feel like this is way too petty to be true. But someone came forward and claimed that they were friends with a PA that this happened to. A user named Nick Weiger tweeted, friend was a PA on her show, got their first staff writer job and put in their notice with Ellen. Instead of congrats, they were told to give their Christmas gift back. He followed his first tweet by saying that she only gives gifts to the staff members that she likes. Like I said, some of these stories are a little too petty to be true, unless she really is that petty.
I don't know. Stepping number 2 spot is the time she shut down a barbecue. This one is another example of a time when her passion for veganism came through. A wardrobe expert and best-selling author Alison Freer took her story to Twitter and said, "I was working on a show at Warner Brothers that was next to her stage. It was our showrunner's 50th birthday. There was a caterer grilling steaks outside for a special fancy lunch. Ellen sent someone over to demand they stop as she doesn't eat meat. She's the worst." This is how I see it. She's able to have her vegan lifestyle the same way that meat eaters can have their lifestyle. By them barbecuing outside, it doesn't mean that you have to eat it. I mean, I'm sure you've been to a restaurant where they're cooking meat in the kitchen. You know what I mean? Finally, we have made it to number 1, and we have the time that she compared quarantine to jail. This happened recently, and people online started attacking the comedian and exposing her for taking a joke too far. During quarantine, Ellen decided to keep her talk show going through YouTube videos, like us. And one of them caused her to remove it from social media. In one of her videos, she made a comment saying, "One thing that I've learned from being in quarantine is that this is like being in jail. It is what it is. It's mostly because I've been wearing the same clothes for 10 days and everyone in here is gay." It wasn't long before the joke was being slammed all over the internet. One person called her out and said, "Disappointed in Ellen for joking about being in jail while she sits in her multi-million-dollar mansion with access to anything she wants. Many of us are struggling to get essentials and are exposed on the front lines, but please continue exercising your privilege." That was just one response, guys, all right? The YouTube video was listed unavailable not long after the backlash started.
So starting off at number 10, we have Winona Ryder. Winona Ryder very famously dated Johnny Depp in 1989 to 1993, and they had a very public and somewhat messy relationship. But in the end, the two are very fond of each other, and they have such a good relationship that Winona made a point to defend Johnny when Amber was accusing him of horrible things. In a statement, Ryder said, quote, "I understand that it is very important that I speak from my own experience, as I obviously was not there during his marriage to Amber. But from my experience, which was so wildly different, I was absolutely shocked, confused, and upset when I heard the accusations against him. The idea that he is an incredibly violent person is the farthest thing from the Johnny I knew and loved. I cannot wrap my head around these accusations. I truly and honestly only know him as a really good man, an incredibly loving, extremely caring guy who is so very protective of me and the people that he loves, and I felt so very, very safe with him." And even though she made a point to not dismiss Amber's claims, she felt the need to let everyone know that Johnny was nothing but a perfect gentleman in their relationship. In at number 9, Vanessa Paradis. Vanessa Paradis was in a relationship with Depp from 1998 to 2012, and they shared 2 children together. She also made a point to defend Johnny and make it clear this picture Amber was painting of him was false, saying in her statement, quote, "I have known Johnny for more than 25 years and we raised our 2 children together. Through all these years, I've known Johnny to be a kind, attentive, generous, and non-violent person and father." And then referring to the new allegations, she added, quote, "This is nothing like the true Johnny I have known, and from my personal experience of many years, I can say he was never violent or to me." So yet again, another former partner who was brave enough to say the truth about Johnny, even though I'm sure at the time she got tons of hate for going against a fellow woman. And at number 8, Sia. Sia's statements in support of Johnny are the most recent on this list, but out of seemingly nowhere, the singer came out on Twitter to address her support for Depp. She started by tweeting out a video showing the leaked audio recordings of Amber Heard talking about how she had lost it on Johnny in the past. Then she made her support even clearer, tweeting out, quote, "Just showing my public support for Johnny Depp. I mean, I'd love him to get clean and stop with the jewelry, but he's clearly the victim after hearing those tapes." But Sia wasn't even done, and she finished off her support by calling out Amber Heard's former boyfriend, Elon Musk. Writing, quote, "Also at Elon Musk, didn't you give her the $7 million she donated from her settlement? She still came out $7 million richer. Why are you protecting her? She will never get the help she needs if we all stay silent." So clearly Sia is very opinionated on the matter and wants to see Amber Heard brought to justice. And really, you can't blame her at this point. In at number 7, Allison Paradis. The Paradis family is very clearly a big fan of Johnny Depp because Vanessa Paradis' sister Allison also made a point to defend Johnny. She showed her support in the form of an Instagram post, posting a picture of what looks to be the 2 of them together, then writing in the caption, quote, "You are and always will be family to me. You are one of the funniest and most loving people I know." And it's not always a given for your in-laws to like you, so the fact that they are going out of their way to defend Johnny like this is really huge in my eyes. And at number 6, Lily Rose Depp.
And of course, his daughter Lily Rose Depp made a point to defend her father against the claims. She first posted a screenshot of an article from People, which showed that the LAPD had been to the couple's house after Amber called them, but they didn't find any proof that Depp had caused any harm, so no charges were pressed. With a statement reading in part, quote, "There was no evidence of any crime. A crime did not occur, so the officers left the scene and left a business card." Then she posted a photo of her and her dad back when she was just a baby, captioning the photo, quote, "My dad is the sweetest, most loving person I know. He's been nothing but a wonderful father to my little brother and I. And everyone who knows him would say the same." So here it is very clear that she supports her father and wants everyone to know that at that point there was no proof of anything other than what Amber had said happened. Halfway number 5, Laura Wasser. Laura Wasser is Johnny Depp's attorney, and of course it's her job to protect and defend Johnny, so she would make statements in support of him. But in one statement where she spoke of the case, she said that Heard was, quote, "attempting to secure a premature financial resolution by alleging abuse." Adding, quote, "Her current application for a temporary restraining order, along with her financial requests, appears to be in response to the negative media attention she received earlier this week after filing for divorce. Yet Johnny cannot protect himself or Amber from media scrutiny, and Amber's anger certainly cannot drive this dissolution proceeding." Continuing that Amber doesn't need any of Johnny's money because she's a successful actress and should have had plenty of money of her own. With Wasser adding that Heard took advantage of Depp at an emotional time, as his mother had only died 3 days before Heard filed for divorce. So here Wasser is trying to make it clear that Heard has bad intentions and not only wants to exploit Johnny for money, but wants control of her press narrative as well, which I think perfectly shows, the kind of person that Amber is. And at number 4, Paul Bettany. Paul Bettany is an actor who has worked alongside Johnny Depp in 3 movies in the past: Transcendence, The Tourist, and Mordecai. And because of all the times the two have worked together, Bettany figures he was a good person to be a character witness of Depp's. Bettany showed his support on Twitter, writing, quote, "Known Johnny Depp for years and through several relationships. He's the sweetest, kindest, gentlest man I've ever known." Just saying. With most of the replies under the tweet thanking him for speaking out and commenting that he was right now that the news came out that leaked audio recordings showed that Amber had hurt Johnny before. And at number 3, David Yates. Johnny Depp was announced as playing Grindelwald in the sequel film Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald. And after the announcement, there were cries to exclude him from the film and recast, after reports surfaced of Amber Heard's accusations. But after much deliberation, the director David Yates and other studio executives made the decision to keep him in the film. And after some backlash, Yates himself came out with a statement on the matter. In an interview with Entertainment Weekly, Yates said, quote, "Amber's claims were one person who took a pop at him and claimed something. Whatever accusation was out there, it doesn't tally with the kind of human being I've been working with." So clearly here, Yates felt that the accusations were false from the get-go. And at number 2, J.K. Rowling. In the same context as Yates, J.K. Rowling also had to make a public statement after her and the other studio executives made the decision to keep him in the film. According to the statement, after claims were made about Depp, it was considered that the studio recast him. But Rowling implied that the fans might not know the full story on the matter, implying that Amber was hiding things. Saying in the statement, quote, "For me personally, the inability to speak openly to fans about this issue has been difficult, frustrating, and at times painful. However, the agreements that have been put in place to protect the privacy of 2 people, both of whom have expressed a desire to get on with their lives, must be respected. Based on our understanding of the circumstances, the filmmakers and I are not only comfortable sticking with our original casting, but are genuinely happy to have Johnny playing a major character in the movies." So clearly there, Rowling felt that she knew the truth and stuck to her guns. And finally, number 1, Laura Devenir. Laura Devenir is an interior decorator to many stars, so it's safe to say she's seen celebrities in their truest lights. And even though she's a former friend of Amber Heard's, she did the right thing and made a statement against her in court for the defense of Johnny. In it, Devenir claims that she didn't see Amber Heard's bruises after an alleged fight between her and Depp on May 21st of 2016. And even though Amber tried to release a recording making the statement look false, Johnny's lawyers included an email from after the recordings saying again that Devenir had never seen bruises on Amber's body. And although the timeline of events can be pretty confusing, since Devenir has continued stating that she never saw the bruises, this pokes more holes in Amber's story and clearly proves that she lied.
At number 10, allegedly fighting her sister. Johnny Depp isn't the only person that's allegedly been a victim of Amber Heard's violence. There are reports that suggest that Amber has allegedly abused her sister. Coming from the defamation case between Amber and Johnny, a recording from a 2006 reality show featuring Amber's sister Whitney seems to show evidence of a physical altercation between the sisters. In the footage, we see Whitney along with a group of girls sitting around a pool when someone asks her if she had gotten into a fight, when Whitney replies, quote, "I got into an altercation." Another
Another person chimes in saying, quote, "I can't believe Amber beat your ass." The other girls continue to ask Whitney about the altercation, but she refuses to say more about the incident. The courts are using this as evidence to support the abuse towards Whitney, as Amber was referred to by name, and there were visible signs of abuse on Whitney's body, as well as the fact that Whitney didn't even deny that she had the altercation with her sister. Though there are other people who deny that there was a physical altercation between Whitney and Amber, we have yet to learn whether or not that is true. In at number 9, alleged affairs. Along with having allegedly been abusive towards Johnny, she has also allegedly had affairs with multiple people during their relationship. Some names that have been thrown around having had relationships with Amber are Cara Delevingne, Elon Musk, and James Franco. As their alleged affair concerns the defamation trial, both James Franco and Elon Musk have been ordered to hand in any records of messages or any forms of communication with the actress. Apparently, Amber, Cara, and Elon had a group affair in Johnny's downtown LA penthouse, and there is also video footage of Amber meeting with James Franco also in 2016 where they went to the same LA penthouse. Coming in at number 8, arrested for abuse. Back in 2009, Amber Heard was arrested for abuse against her then partner Tazia Von Ray. The two had a 5-year-long relationship, and though Tazia has come to Amber's defense, there's no getting away from the alleged abuse that took place at a Seattle airport. According to the arresting officer, she witnessed Amber hit Ray and then was arrested and booked for the misdemeanor battery charge. Though there was a witness to the incident, the prosecutor refused to move forward with the case and it was dismissed. In response to the charges, Ray told sources that the incident was blown out of proportions and that the arresting officer was homophobic, and that's why Amber was arrested, but the officer actually wrote to her Facebook saying that she identifies as a gay woman and that she issued the arrest not out of spite, but because she saw the whole thing unfold. At number 7, manipulating the press. According to Amber, the press is where you make all your money, and it seems like she's an expert in finessing the system. It seems like Amber likes to keep the press on their toes and needs to stay relevant, even if that means tearing someone else down. According to sources, Amber filed for divorce from Johnny Depp just days after his mother died back in 2016, and she filed for a restraining order just a few days before the premiere of his film Alice Through the Looking Glass. It seems whenever Johnny is going through something major and potentially newsworthy, Amber is right behind him ready to overshadow him with her own news. To support this argument, one of Johnny's friends even came out saying that Amber was trying to blackmail Johnny to the press about their alleged abuse in order to stay relevant. As of right now, she's still staying relevant thanks to Johnny, but not at all for the right reasons. In at number 6, dog smuggling. Back in 2015, Amber got into some pretty big trouble after she illegally smuggled her 2 dogs, Pistol and Boo, into Australia. According to sources, Amber was fully aware that bringing her dogs into the country was illegal, but she ignored those warnings and did it anyway. The story garnered national attention as she and Johnny were held in the courts for the crime of illegally bringing their dogs with them into the country. It is also said that Amber asked her former assistant to lie under oath to the Australian courts to say that Amber was unaware of the illegality of her actions, even though she was made aware many times before their trip. Luckily for her assistant, the person who was told to tell them to lie refused to do so, but it still goes to show the lengths that Amber will go to in order to stay squeaky clean. Halfway through at number 5, Amber's deposition. There's a clip circulating the internet of Amber being deposed during one of the many lawsuits that she's endured through her legal battles with ex-husband Johnny Depp. This video in particular shows Amber trying to describe how Depp abused her, and it's honestly kind of painful to watch. In the video, she's trying to talk about an instance of abuse, but it looks like she's just trying to play a character. We now know that a lot of the allegations of abuse aren't true, so this clip kind of helps to paint the picture that she was making the whole thing up. Her struggling to talk and what sounds like forced crying just doesn't help her image anymore, although it probably worked back then when the allegations still stood. In at 4, Amber's audio. Back in February of this year, the Daily Mail got a hold of audio recordings of Amber which had the actress admitting to abusing Johnny. In the recording, you could hear Amber and Johnny talking about an instance of domestic violence in which Heard said, quote, "I'm sorry that I didn't hit you across the face in a proper slap, but I was hitting you, it was not punching you, babe, you're not punched." End quote. This 2-hour therapy session recording was one of the first instances of violence that was brought to light, showing that Amber was actually the abuser and not Johnny. But there are plenty more instances of abuse between the two of them, but this specific line shows how Amber seemed to have downplayed the situation. In the recording, she also goes on to mock and taunt Johnny, telling him to grow up and stop acting like a baby. The recording also showcases Johnny asking Amber to not be physical and genuinely trying to de-escalate things.
I can't promise you that I'll be perfect. I can't promise you I won't get physical again. God, I Sometimes I get so mad I lose it.
And to hear her tell him that she can't promise that she won't be physical again is absolutely heartbreaking. At number 3, secretly recording Johnny. In an attempt to sort of plant evidence in a way, Amber Heard secretly recorded Johnny Depp when he was angry. This footage, though edited, was given to the Sun publication in order to paint Johnny as a violent and angry person. But just recently, with their trial underway, the full video has been released and is now shedding a new light on the situation. Though the original footage showed Johnny in an angered state, this new untouched footage shows Amber almost egging him on. The video highlights Amber not being concerned with Johnny's well-being, even though he is clearly upset, and the end of the clip shows Amber smiling and laughing at Johnny. To make matters worse, it is said that this footage was filmed just a few days after Johnny's mom passed away and after having millions of dollars stolen from him, so that's why he's understandably upset in the footage. A lot of people who have commented on the video point out that Amber is more concerned about capturing the footage than she is with her distressed husband, but it also shows how instead of inflicting any sort of violence on Amber, Johnny takes his anger out on objects like cupboards or cups, never once going to inflict pain on Amber.
Amber Laura Heard was born and raised in Texas and made her film debut in a minor supporting role for the sports drama called Friday Night Lights. Following that, she appeared in other smaller roles in both television and film, although her first leading role came when she starred in the horror flick called All the Boys Love Mandy Lane in 2006. However, the film was not released in the United States until 2013 due to distribution problems. By far her big breakthrough roles though came in 2008 when she was cast in the action film called Never Back Down and the stoner comedy Pineapple Express, both of which were huge box office success stories. Now Amber is still booking roles. Recently she took part in a TV series called The Stand, and she has one other film in pre-production. In 2011, Amber Heard worked opposite Johnny Depp in the film called The Rum Diary. The movie was about an American journalist, Paul Kemp, who takes a freelance job in Puerto Rico for a local newspaper during the 1960s. The movie follows him as he struggles to find balance between island culture and the expatriates who live there. A few years after Johnny Depp and Amber Heard first met on that set, the two began dating after Depp and longtime partner Vanessa Paradis called it quits. At the same time, Heard had also split with her partner Tasha Van Reed, although that separation is really where Amber began formulating a bad reputation. According to USA Today, Amber was arrested in 2009 for physically assaulting her then girlfriend Van Reed at the Seattle-Tacoma International Airport in Washington. Apparently the two had gotten into a disagreement after Heard allegedly grabbed and hit Van Reed's arm. All charges were eventually dropped, with Tasha claiming that the situation was over-sensationalized in the media. Regardless, the general public just saw the headline of Amber assaulting her girlfriend, and thus the narrative was off to the races. By 2015, Depp and Heard had gotten married in a private ceremony at their home in LA. Later that year, Amber found herself in more trouble after she breached Australia's biosecurity laws when she failed to declare that her dogs were arriving with her in the country. As a result, the couple had to do this super cringy apology video together. Fast forward to 2016, and that's where this couple's toxic side really began to show. On May 23, 2016, Heard filed for divorce from Depp and obtained a temporary restraining order against him as well. At the time of the divorce, Amber alleged that Depp threw a phone at her, leaving the actress with a bruised face. Although a police spokesman told People magazine that an investigation into the domestic incident radio call found no evidence that a crime had actually taken place. Depp continued to deny the allegations made against him, and through his legal representatives, they believe Heard had concocted the story in an attempt to secure premature financial resolution by alleging this abuse. Now, here's perhaps a really good reason to never trust Amber Heard. According to The Hollywood Reporter, after their divorce was finalized in 2017, it included a non-disparagement clause, which prohibited either party from saying anything negative about the high-profile relationship and the subsequent breakup. You'd think that the drama would have ended with that, but nope. The following year, Amber wrote a scathing op-ed piece for the Washington Post in which she completely disparaged Johnny Depp without directly mentioning his name. It was very sneaky and opened up a can of worms that just couldn't be closed. In the op-ed, Heard writes, "I became a public figure representing domestic abuse, and I felt the full force of our culture's wrath for women who speak out," which is just an outright lie. She did not become a public figure representing domestic abuse, unless she's including that assault on her former girlfriend. She isn't though. She's trying to say that she was the face of domestic abuse after the police confirmed that there was no evidence of this. Yet still, she fully believes that she is the victim of our culture's wrath, when in reality, it was the public responding to someone lying through their teeth. The biggest indicator that she is truly living inside of her own bubble is this statement. I'm old enough to remember that in 2017 we were going through what was called the Me Too movement. Plenty of powerful and prominent men were either arrested or fired for their inappropriate actions. I'm sure by now you're starting to get the gist of why Hollywood shouldn't be casting Amber. I mean, if you consider lying as a form of acting, well then she's pretty good at that, but I don't think they do. And from a studio standpoint, why would you ever trust someone who has repeatedly tried to change the narrative while accepting no blame whatsoever? That That doesn't really seem like the type of person that you would want to work with. Additionally, the number of signatures to have her removed from Aquaman 2 has now surpassed 1.5 million and is on its way to 2 million. That is a big deal whether Hollywood wants to admit it or not. If you put Amber in anything now, you know that there will be an outpouring of Johnny Depp supporters who will either try to get it taken down or just outright advocate for a boycott. This video is going to be a little bit different from most of the top 10 lists that you're used to seeing on this channel, but please let us know down below when it's over if you want to see more videos like this one. Amber Heard made her film debut from a minor role back in 2004 in Friday Night Lights, and from there she worked pretty consistently in Hollywood and landed some bigger roles. Perhaps the biggest one was when she acted alongside Johnny Depp in The Rum Diary.
This one or this one?
What are these for? Party?
It's for Carnival.
The pair were cast as each other's love interests in the film adaptation of Hunter S. Thompson's novel, although they didn't officially begin dating until 2012 after Depp and his longtime partner Vanessa called it quits. Depp and Heard kept their relationship extremely private until they made their first appearance as a couple at the 7th annual Heaven Gala in January of 2014. And just a few days later, the couple was engaged. After getting married in 2015, their love and joy for each other though would be very short-lived. According to Variety, Johnny Depp had suffered a bad hand injury while he was filming Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Men Tell No Tales in Australia. Although this hand injury wasn't anything like from a dangerous movie stunt, but rather due to an argument that he had with Amber Heard. Then in March of 2015, Depp was reportedly injured again, but this time it was from a massive fight that led to smashed bottles and broken windows. According to reports, this fight led to Depp accidentally slicing off a portion of one of his fingers. Also, I'm speaking a lot about what happened to Johnny Depp in this video because you can't really speak about the truth of Amber Heard without mentioning how she's affected him. Before Amber, Depp was rarely in the press, but as soon as they became a couple, it felt like they were in the news for something every other day. Which, you don't have to be a brain surgeon to piece together that she may have been the catalyst to all of this madness. I mean, in April of 2016, they had to do this really awkward apology video because I guess they violated Australia's biosecurity codes by not declaring the Yorkshire Terriers that she brought into the country. I mean, take a look at this.
Australians are just as unique, both warm and direct. When you disrespect Australian law, they will tell you firmly.
I am truly sorry that Pistol and Boo were not declared.
Now, fast forward to May of 2016, just 15 months after they said I do, and now the once happy couple is getting divorced. Vanity Fair was the first to report on this and said that Heard had cited irreconcilable differences. Not too long after that news broke though, Amber filed a restraining order against Johnny Depp, claiming that he had harmed her. She then wrote a scathing op-ed piece for the Washington Post after their divorce was finalized, citing that Depp, without, directly naming him, I'll give her that, he had abused her several times in their relationship. This led to Depp suing her and the Post for defamation, as the article generated so much negativity around his name that even Disney dropped him from the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise. Although they still maintain that it was due to them wanting to go in a new direction, but the timing suggests otherwise. The truth about Amber Heard is that she did this because she wanted to generate positive publicity around her name, in order to advance her career while simultaneously destroying Johnny Depp's. She even went as far as allegedly painting on bruises for which Depp argued that he was actually the victim. While Amber Heard accused Johnny Depp of domestic violence, the Aquaman star was actually arrested for alleged domestic violence against her former partner photographer Tassia Van Ree in September of 2009. According to TMZ, Heard and Van Ree got into an argument at the Seattle-Tacoma International Airport, and Heard allegedly struck Van Ree. She was then arrested and booked for misdemeanor domestic violence, but the prosecutor declined to move forward, supposedly because both of these women lived in California. Perhaps one of the biggest tells that Amber Heard has completely lost her mind is the fact that before she left Depp's house, she left him a little present. Although she denies it, many people saw the poop that she left on Johnny Depp's bed and immediately blamed Amber for pooping on the sheets. What is this? You know what I mean? Like, she actually blamed her Yorkshire Terrier, but other people are also suggesting that her co-conspirators and friends had a little bit of a role in this one.
It was not left by a 3 or 4 pound dog. I was convinced that it was either Miss Heard herself or one of her cohorts involved in leaving human feces on the bed.
Allegedly, she had been trying to set Depp up for a long time, and in doing so involved 2 of her friends. Just recently, Johnny Depp's security chief alleged that Amber Heard had actually physically abused Depp throughout their marriage. During the court proceedings, security officer Sean Bett appeared in court and gave his witness statement. In the statement, he said, "Throughout the course of Mr. Depp and Miss Heard's relationship, Miss Heard was verbally and physically abusive towards Mr. Depp," adding that on many occasions I witnessed her shout at Mr. Depp. I was also told by Mr. Depp on multiple occasions that Miss Heard had physically abused him. As for the credibility of this man, he was a former Los Angeles sheriff deputy that worked for Depp for the last decade. According to him, Miss Heard often behaved this way when she had been drinking, so he had to learn quickly to recognize the signs so that he could calm a situation before it escalated. Depp's security was cross-examined by lawyer Sasha Wass, who questioned his claim that he had never seen Heard with the bruises or marks on her face, but had several times witnessed Depp with multiple bruises inflicted by Miss Heard. Even though this is called the truth about Amber Heard, we have to say that some of the details that we just discussed have yet to be officially confirmed, so please do not take all of what I said as gospel, but rather an insight into this toxic relationship that this pair had together. The reason that I assumed Amber may have been the catalyst, as I said earlier, is due to Depp's former romantic partners coming forward to defend him. Both Winona Ryder and Vanessa Paradis said that he never abused them physically, verbally, or otherwise, so it's a bit strange to see all of these sudden accusations coming out against someone that has such a, I don't know, clean track record, for lack of a better expression.
At number 10, lying about donations. This is one of the most recent things Amber has been exposed for, and it says a lot about her. She was exposed this year after lying about donations that she allegedly made to 2 charities, and after people found out about it, it just gave people yet another reason to turn on the actress. As some of you may recall, when Johnny and Amber reached a divorce settlement, Johnny was ordered to pay Amber a total of about $7 million. When she received that money, instead of spending it, she claimed that she would split the money and would donate the full amount to 2 charities, the Children's Hospital of Los Angeles and the American Civil Liberties Union. But recently, Johnny Depp has called his ex out for lying about donating the money and claims that she just pocketed most of the money and made a much smaller donation than was promised. Though Johnny's lawyers tried to speak with the ACLU about Amber's donation, they never made a comment, but the Children's Hospital said that the donation that they received from Amber was a total of $100,000 that was much less than the $3.5 million that she was promised. Amber's team responded to Johnny's allegations that Amber pocketed the money, saying that because of her legal drama with her ex-husband, Amber, quote, has been delayed in that goal because Mr. Depp filed a lawsuit against her, and consequently she has been forced to spend millions of dollars defending Mr. Depp's false accusations against her, end quote. It seems like she's once again putting the blame on Johnny for her own actions. At number 9, Johnny's finger. One of the most gruesome stories to have been revealed during Johnny and Amber's court case was the story about how Amber allegedly severed the tip of her partner's finger. As if there was enough violence being thrown around, there is also accusations that Amber was the cause of Johnny's severed finger. During their defamation lawsuit, Johnny claimed that the injury that caused him to lose the tip of his finger was caused by Amber in an incident that happened about a month after they were married, where Amber was throwing glass bottles at Johnny, one of which ended up slicing his finger, severing the tip of it. Now, this was no small injury, and anyone close enough to Johnny would notice that there was something wrong. During a press conference for the film Black Mass in 2015, actress Dakota Johnson noticed that something was wrong with Johnny's finger, and she asked him what happened quietly at their table. When Dakota asked about it, Johnny looked visibly distraught and just laughed it off, but you could tell by the look on her face that she wasn't buying whatever lie Johnny had given her. In a way, Dakota got a glimpse into the terror that Johnny was living, and she was almost given a warning as to what was to come from Amber Heard and the allegations that would soon come out. As a result of his injury, Johnny had to receive multiple surgeries to correct his finger and had also caused him serious harm to his health, as he nearly died after contracting MSRA. All of this happened while he was trying to hide everything behind a fake smile that no one was buying. Before I carry on with the list, I'd like to ask you guys to consider leaving a like on this video if you're enjoying it so far, and also maybe go ahead and hit that subscribe button while you're at it. At number 8, audio confession. Back in February last year, the public got its first real glimpse into the terrifying world of Amber Heard and Johnny Depp after the Daily Mail got a hold of audio recordings of Amber, which had the actress admitting to getting physical with Johnny. In the recording, you could hear Amber and Johnny talking about an instance of laying a hand on her husband, in which Heard says, quote, "I'm sorry that I didn't hit you across the face in a proper slap, but I was hitting you, I was not punching you. Babe, you're not punched," end quote.
I'm sorry that I didn't
You
hit
punched
you
me.
across the face in a proper slap, but I was hitting you. It was not punching you. Babe, you're not punched.
In another part of the audio recording, Johnny admits to Amber that he's scared of her because of how she gets aggressive and physical in some situations. In the recording, Amber also goes on to mock and taunt Johnny, telling him to grow up and stop acting like a baby. The exchanges between the two of them in this recording show the sad truth of their relationship, showing us that it was beyond toxic, and the fact that this was recorded shows that Johnny wanted someone else to hear just how things really were for him. At number 7, dog smuggling. Back in 2015, Amber and Johnny got into some really big trouble after they illegally smuggled their 2 dogs, Pistol and Boo, into Australia. Apparently, they didn't fill out the paperwork to allow their pets entry into the country, and as a result, they were held accountable for their actions. But whose fault was it really? According to sources, Amber was fully aware that bringing her dogs into the country was illegal, but she ignored those warnings and did it anyway. Amber allegedly persuaded Johnny as well as her assistants to help her get her dogs into the country and lie to authorities. Johnny knew what he was doing was wrong, but he still went along with it, and that begs the question of why he agreed to help. Some people believe that Johnny only went along with his wife's request because she had been manipulating him. Following everything we know about how Amber treated Johnny, that doesn't seem like such a far-fetched idea. The fact that she was able to manipulate people into committing a crime she knew was serious shows a lot about Amber's true character, and in a way was a warning sign of Amber's true colors. At number 6, Johnny's career. In years past, Johnny Depp has had a really successful career. He was acting in films alongside some of the biggest names in Hollywood, and many of his films turned out to be huge successes. But later on, after being tied to Amber, the quality of his performances and films started to decline. Many people credited this loss in success to the fact that Johnny was abusing substances, but now we have to take a step back and ask ourselves, why is that, and what that says about Amber. It is said that towards the end of Johnny's run on Pirates of the Caribbean, the actor was given an earpiece so that his lines could be read to him while on set because he was too inebriated to remember his lines himself. For someone to read that out of it, there has to be something seriously wrong, and many people believe that that thing was in fact Amber. Johnny was in so much pain that he had to numb it with substances, and that took a big toll on his work and livelihood. In a way, this was Johnny warning us about how his life was behind closed doors, and it's sad that no one really noticed the severity of what was going on until now. At number 5, deposition. When this whole Amber and Johnny thing blew up, people started looking at the deposition footage more carefully, analyzing every word and every movement. After the world discovered that Amber was the villain in this relationship, going back to look at her deposition clips made things a whole lot clearer. There's a clip in particular that shows Amber trying to describe how Johnny hurt her, and it's honestly kind of painful to watch because it almost looks more like a performance rather than a testimonial. In the video, she's trying to talk about an instance where Johnny got physical with her, but it almost looks like she's trying to play a character, playing it up to look more dramatic. We now know that a lot of her allegations against Johnny aren't true, so this clip kind of helps to paint the picture that she was just making the whole thing up. The fact that she was stuttering and struggling to talk and what would seem like forced crying just showed that she was just trying to manipulate people into believing her side of the story, which in a way shows us how she was able to brainwash Johnny for that whole time. At number 4, perjury investigation. But speaking of manipulation, Amber was recently exposed for having set up a fake scene to make people believe that Johnny had hurt her, and it goes to show the lengths that she will go to in order to create the narrative that best serves her. Body cam footage from 2016 revealed that Amber wasn't entirely honest about her claims regarding an alleged instance of violence that happened in the couple's home. In her statement, Amber said that her apartment was left in disarray after the incident, but this police footage shows that the apartment wasn't really all that messed up, and it was believed that she gave a false statement and staged the scene. Had this incident been more recent, she could have faced a serious penalty, but since this happened years ago, Amber is able to walk away from these allegations without facing repercussions. The allegations of perjury can serve as a warning of the lengths Amber would go to in order to create an outcome that she wants rather than justice being served. At number 3, secret recording. Similar to the way Amber allegedly staged the scene of the 2016 incident in LA, Amber seemingly attempted to plant evidence in a way as she secretly recorded one of her arguments with Johnny in an attempt to frame him for an outburst. This footage, though it was edited, was first given to the Sun publication in order to paint Johnny as a violent and angry person, but following the trial, the full video has been released, shedding a new light on the situation. Though the original original footage showed Johnny in an angered state. This new unedited footage shows Amber almost egging him on. In the video, Amber was seen propping up her phone to record one of their arguments and was seen laughing and smiling at Johnny as he got more and more upset. This was filmed during one of Johnny's hardest moments, as his mom had just passed away a few days before that video was recorded. Though it was Amber's footage and not Johnny's, this could be interpreted as a warning sign about Amber because it showed the public what she was like in real life. We watched as Amber picked a fight just to get footage that she knew she would use later for her own gain, so if that doesn't tell you enough about who she is, then I'm not sure what will. At number 2, body language. There's a clip of one of Johnny's red carpet interviews that shows just how uncomfortable he was around Amber. There have been a few instances of Johnny and Amber's body language telling a frightening story, but this one really speaks volumes. During this interview, Amber is seen standing very closely to her husband, and throughout the time the actor was speaking to the reporter, Johnny seemed to look really uncomfortable and really tense, and was constantly looking over his shoulder. He also sounded shaky and stumbled over his words a lot in that interview as well. Johnny looked genuinely afraid, as if he was anticipating something from Amber, and it's really hard to watch. This was Johnny's way of showing the public that something was wrong, but no one really clued in until much later. And finally, at number 1, I want to go home. By far, one of the biggest warnings we got from Johnny came from yet another red carpet moment during the premiere for Alice Into the Looking Glass. While on the red carpet, Johnny was asked if he had anything to say to his fans.
Globe, do you have a message for your fans right now, Mr. Depp?
I'm scared to death. I'm frightened and I don't know what to do. I'm confused and I want to go home.
And he made a comment that many people interpreted as Johnny just being funny, but now we know that there was a lot more truth in his words. Johnny literally cried out for help and no one took him seriously. He was scared and he was at a very low point in his life, and no one came to save him from the nightmare that he was living.